All right, and we're live. It's the early Redeye stream tonight, number 12. Um, Redbeard's muted for a while. We're not cool enough. He's waiting on Sir Ride a Lot to show up with his motorcycle. So uh, we got Pirate Nation here as usual, and also Cabbage as usual.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining me. And I'm joined here today with Mad Dodge Productions and Cabbage Patch Bastard and Redbeard and soon to be Sir Ride a Lot. Thanks for coming to the Pirate Nation. This is the Pirate Nation, not Mad Dodge Productions.
Yeah, I just got taken over. Hostile takeover.
I'd like to say welcome to Cabbage Patch Productions. I'm currently being in contact with Mad Dodge, and of course we have Pirate too.
Yep, just here to be shit.
Would somebody stop buzzing, please?
That's actually a pretty good segue right into our first topic, of course. Because you know us, we have to yell about current events at the top of our lungs with only like 4 people listening. We have the Barcelona attack. This is on BBC News. And this is their latest update, I believe.
Yep, the next shitstorm is happening in Spain. Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, this is the wonderful diversity that we're being told about. This is about accepting cultural diversity, and so Spain is just being exposed to cultural diversity, and clearly it's a good thing. It must be. The European Union is enforcing it on them with their immigration quotas.
Yep, obviously these attacks are what's best for Spain and what's best for Europe.
Must be. I mean, the elites have worked it all out. They've sat down, they've done their spreadsheets, they've analyzed it, and this is clearly a positive move forwards in our collective, what the hell would you call it? Paradigm.
Yeah, so, wow. All right, so a van has plowed into pedestrians in Barcelona's famous Los Robles. I can't do Spanish, guys, but tourist area, killing 13 people and injuring more than 100. Spanish police have described it as a terror attack, and I would elaborate and say that ISIS has declared it a terror attack. They've taken credit. So did one of the terrorists go, you know what, that shit in Virginia, like that's undercutting our market. You know what I mean? So we better do something bigger.
Yeah, that's taking the focus off us. We need to get it back, guys.
Well, you do remember when an English guy went and hit that mosque in London. He went and drove it. A guy from Wales, and he drove a van, kind of tit for tat thing for the London Bridge. Oh no, it was because it's the third attack, and then he did that. Oh hey up. What happened to?
Oh, I think he'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably dropped out on accident. But I didn't really hear about that. Was that after the London attack, or was that before?
Yeah, it was after one of the London attacks. There was a guy from Wales who basically just plowed through a bunch of people coming out of a mosque in the morning. And it was one of the mosques that had been predominantly about the production of radicalized Muslims, or Islamics, I should say. I don't know, political correctness bullshit. So yeah, I mean, but that was just, that was a tit for tat thing. I think it was a point scoring exercise. But now, yeah, I mean, this is the thing though, right? I mean, everyone's doing it. It's almost like a fucking fashion now. You just drive vehicles into people.
Well,
I mean, this is really what points it out though. This is what really, I don't understand what they're going to do now, ban cars. How are they going to enforce any kind of protection against this sort of thing happening? You can't do. Anyone going to work, anyone doing anything can be a potential, threat.
Yeah, it's no, and ridiculous. I'm looking at that.
And the only way to stop it is to stop the crazy fuckers who are willing to do it from doing it. That Welsh guy would have never have done what he did had it not been for all of the attacks that had occurred. The Manchester bombing, the 2 London attacks. He would never have done that were they, had they not happened. So it's cause and effect. Now, the thing in Barcelona is directly in response to, the immigration and the migration laws that have been implemented by the European Union. Now, this is an imported problem. It is not something that's homegrown, right?
Yeah, no, and I was looking at that article. It's funny that you brought up. It's like they did it for points. Here it says witnesses describe seeing a white van zigzagging at speed along the pedestrian area, deliberately targeting people, knocking many to the floor and sending others fleeing for cover in shops and cafes. So it's like they played a little too much Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean? That's what you did when you were a teenager playing GTA 3.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But look, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they try and spin it. Whether or not they're willing to say radical Islam, if they're actually willing to point out the reality of what's going on. Because they're going to use every kind of language that they possibly can to avoid addressing where the problem comes from.
Yeah, guys, it's jihadis. It's the Muslims. It's Islam.
I should get my other avatar.
Who else needs to say it? Yeah, go for it. Get the Cabbage Patch jihad. Fuck yes.
All right, so digging more into the article, was there a second attack? Police have confirmed 2 police officers were ran over by a vehicle at a checkpoint. There is no evidence to suggest that it was linked to the Ramballis attack. However, police have linked the attack to an explosion on Wednesday night, which completely destroyed a house, left 1 person dead and 7 more injured.
What the fuck is happening in Spain? Holy shit, guys. Get your fucking country together. Damn.
Yeah, and the house in Ancanar, about 125 miles south of Barcelona. So they blew up a house, traveled 125 miles north, and then ran a bunch of people over. Like, holy shit. And whose house did they blow up? It doesn't say.
Yo, mama. Oh, that was a bad joke.
Who carried out the attack? 2 people have been arrested in connection with the incident. 1 born in Morocco and 1 born in the Spanish enclave of Melilla, Manila, North Africa. I can't say that word. Not for the life of me.
Hello, motherfuckers. Hello, Akbar.
What the fuck?
Look at it. Oh my god. It's just perfect.
Cabbage getting into the season, huh?
'Tis the season to be murderous.
La 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 la.
Oh my god, that would be so good for Sci 10. Sci 10 could make something out of that.
Well, somehow, yeah, get it to Sci 10 then.
Do you think this stuff's ever going to end, or is it just going to get worse? It seems.
No, it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
Of course, it's going to get worse.
Better, that's for sure.
It has to get worse because you can't keep. The only reason that it's got as bad as it has is because of the lack of control over the immigration policy. So the more people that you dump of this particular kind into these countries, it's bound to get worse. It was never a problem until we started dumping people into the countries. There's a direct causal effect. It's not like it's coincidence that these people suddenly started doing this. They intended to come into the countries with this in mind. They didn't get radicalized in these countries.
Well,
sometimes they did. But, Spain, kids in.
Spain also has a history of Muslim occupation.
It does, yeah, and it's got a lot of reasons why it doesn't want it to happen again. Oh, there'll be a big backlash now. And I think Spain's going to go the same way as Hungary and, after this, like with Hungary and Czechoslovakia and Poland, I think they'll probably go the same way and say, fuck it, we've had enough. I think this is going to be really damaging to the European Union, thank God.
It needs to crumble already. It just needs to. Uh, it's such a slow process watching die, and it's like, why can't it just be over already?
Well, because it took a long time to put in place. It takes a lot longer to dismantle something than it does to, to put it up. Unless you're willing to use explosives.
Well, explosives seem to be doing the job, apparently.
Well, no, vehicles at the moment, they don't even bother to bomb anything. Apparently, they don't have the technical skills.
Yeah, and there's nothing else really in that article. I can go back to, well, I'll hit the live thing and see what the latest updates are. Hopefully,
Where's Beardy?
All right.
Beardy.
So, 2 people were arrested with reports of another suspect killed in a shootout. Yeah, I think the latest update was the van attacks and the explosions being linked together.
Oh, there was explosions too.
Yeah, the 125 miles south from Barcelona. It happened the night before.
Oh, right, double attack.
So the UK had to deal with stuff like this from the IRA during, the quote unquote troubles. You guys made peace with the IRA pretty much. But there's no way to make peace with these people. So how can we solve it?
Well,
it's not in America yet. I don't need to solve it. But
yeah, but you see, the difference was, I mean, even if we were Catholics and Protestants, the fact was that it was still sort of, people believed in Jesus and it was God, and it was. I mean, these people are just totally different than us. That you can't make peace with somebody who wants to impose, who think that if you don't believe what they believe, that you have to be annihilated. That's what these people believe. You can't make peace with them. It's just not going to happen. It's so dissimilar to the IRA. But yeah, like you said, we have dealt with terrorist attacks on, then again, so has Spain with the Basque, separatists.
Oh,
they've had the same thing. So it's not like but they were internal conflicts, and so therefore you can negotiate with people because there is some commonality that's there to begin with. There is no commonality. This is a theological position that we're trying. We are not we're not a theocracy. They want to impose a theocracy. You can't square a circle.
They're going to continue to argue as if their ideology is the absolute truth of the world, and they're too blind to look at where it came from. They're too blind to acknowledge the facts of what the Quran actually says. They're too busy trying to half recite it to us and only give us the few little good tidbits that are in there that are semi-positive. And it's just like, dude, you can find the same shit in the Bible. You can find the same shit in any religious text. Like, you're not showing us anything we haven't seen before.
Well, yeah, no, and I would argue that the Bible is almost as violent as the Quran. Not quite.
No, it's not. It's not even remotely, to be honest with you. It really isn't. There is nowhere in the Bible where it says anything relating to jihad.
Like a war strategy book, man. When the Jericho being dropped.
Yeah, but
so
you do. There's nothing that says do jihad.
But those are the stories of the Jewish struggle as told by the Bible. That's not to go out and say promoting you are to go out and like cause violence in the name of your religion. That's saying these people had to do this in this time period. It's a story to learn from the past, essentially.
It's a very, very different issue. What is currently at play? It really is. Like I said, this is a theological issue that they're putting in place. It's our theology. It's their theology against our democracy, and they're winning because look at how much of our democracy is being undermined, how much of our self-determination is being removed, how much of our freedoms are being removed. So, I mean, a theology versus a democracy Unfortunately, it seems like our democracy doesn't have the strength of its own convictions. That's what it is, because we are secular. So our democracy dictates the terms of our society, right?
Yeah.
It's not theocratic.
Yeah. I don't like calling the American system a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. But
yeah, but it's run under a democratic concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you vote. If you vote, then by its very definition, it would be a democracy. As to how valid the votes are, that's a different matter. But it's still democratic if you have the vote. Theocracies, even if you give people a vote, like they found this in Iraq, they gave people a vote, but what then happened was the people who went to the mosques, the imams would tell them how to vote.
Well, Catholic churches also, the priest will give a mass about a certain topic and try and steer, the flock. You know what I mean? So Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, you did get that in Ireland quite a bit as well, but I mean, you don't see that in Christian, like in Christian countries. Well, certainly not in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. You don't really get that. Maybe in Northern Ireland a bit.
Well, now when it comes to the stuff in America, though, I've seen plenty of Baptist churches, whatever churches you want to call them, tell their congregations that a certain president is the one that God wants them to vote for and shit along that line. So there is still that kind of thing that goes on, but.
Well, you have, but this is the thing. America's got a lot more religious fervor than Europe really does, and certainly more than Britain. I mean, we went pretty much. It isn't that we don't respect the religion. It's just, it's not part of the political process as such. Whereas in America, you've got a big block of people like the evangelicals that they can lobby. And I mean, the Baptists, I still don't get what the fuck it is that the Baptists have got such a problem about. I mean, what is it about Baptists that makes them so reactionary? Where did that come from?
Just
because it's like, who were those other ones? The ones saying, soldiers are queers. And they used to,
Westboro, yeah. That shit just comes from extremist ideology that breeds from they sit there and they're like, oh, I mean, basically there's corruption and greed at the heart of it, most likely.
Yeah, but why Baptists? Why not, Mormons or, I mean, any other, religious group in the States? Why is it particularly Baptists that seem to have this issue? Because they do seem to be part of the more radicalized, Christian organization.
Well, a lot of Baptist churches are just really old school in their ways. I mean, I've seen some Baptist churches that don't allow any kind of instrumental music. It's fucking weird as shit.
Well, no.
Okay, so that's like Puritanism then.
And
so it's Puritan movement.
Back towards Spain for just a few more minutes. Spanish police stopped second attack. Spanish police killed 4 attackers in Cambrils after an earlier car attack in Barcelona. So
excellent.
They're under attack, it seems. There was a house blown up, there was a car attack, and then 4 attackers killed in a shootout. So shit's blowing up in Spain, guys.
I think that really, like I said, Spain, I think, is going to go down the same route as Hungary and, and Poland and Czechoslovakia. Because, I mean...
Wait, so like this question, you guys. Is this how the next Spanish Inquisition comes about?
It could well be, but nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Fucking Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, that's definitely what's going to come about from this.
Well, wait, follow my line of thinking here. So the first one was about witches, but this one could be about the infidel, but turned around, you know what I mean? So
no, well, it'd be like the original days of the Last Crusade, mate. See, people forget, when the Crusade happened, when it originally happened, the first one, that wasn't the North going down and just arbitrarily deciding that they wanted to go and fuck up the Middle East. At the time, there was massive amounts of white slavery going on through Europe. You know, Cyprus, Malta, and then southern Spain into Italy, and it was moving up. It was encroaching on, you know, well into Spain, and that's the reason that the Crusades happened. It was to push them back. It wasn't that we were invading them; we were trying to put them back in their place.
Well,
People don't
yeah,
remember that.
No, I remember. The Byzantine emperor invited. He asked the Pope for help, but really, what he wanted was like 2,000 knights. What he got was like 100,000 freaking people and pilgrims.
Yeah.
All coming over to help defend. And well, they ended up turning on the Byzantines. When you dive into history, it gets all convoluted. But they originally were there to help Constantinople, fight back the Muslims from attacking.
Exactly. And so, yeah, but that was what was but the Muslims had already got into southern Spain, and they'd got as far as Portugal, and they were up into, you know, I mean, obviously into, like I said, Malta and Sicily. The Moors, they called them. In fact, it's even written about with Shakespeare. You know, Othello is, you know, I mean, he was a Moor. He was a guy from North Africa, Muslim, which is one of the reasons, obviously, that they, you know, family issues. Dude, you know, giving his daughter to a black guy. So no, I mean, the original Crusades were very much a reaction to something that was happening. It wasn't, and this is exactly what we're going to have again. That's why I think it's playing out again, because it's a reaction to what's being done to us. Unfortunately, the weird thing is we're doing it to ourselves. You know, before it was the barbarians banging at the gates. Now we're inviting them into the gates, and then they're running riot inside our cities. That's the problem. They don't care about our culture, and they don't care about our feelings.
Well, yeah, that's why they move there and they start their own little enclaves to where you can't. It's a no-go zone in Paris. You know,
Yeah,
they're doing
ghettos.
That,
yeah.
No, it's worse than ghettos. Like theoretically, if you get lost in LA and you take a wrong turn, you're not going to be killed. You get lost in Paris and take a wrong turn, you could be killed. Yeah, just for speaking English, of all things. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, just for looking white. French, you don't even need to speak. Yeah.
Or French.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. The insanity is spreading. And it's only these ludicrous ideologues in the European Union who are thinking that there's any viability to this. There is no long-term solution with what they're doing at the moment. If they keep thinking that just by adding more to the problem, they're going to fix it, then they're either insane or delusional. Neither one of which is a good thing to have in terms of your dear leaders.
Yeah, no, and also I'm looking at BBC still. Trump defends, quote unquote, they put the quote marks there, beautiful war statues. So even the BBC is biased against the statue argument. Isn't that crazy? Like they have no part in it. Why are they putting it in quotes? You know, I don't know.
Well, because like I said, it's because this is an ideology that's being pumped. It doesn't matter where you come from. That this is an ideology that the West has gone completely suicidal, and so all these people who are, and it's these groups who are running the different companies now that you have to try and appease anything that you possibly can. I mean, hell, next they'll be appeasing pedophiles. If the BBC,
people are already trying that. People are already
exactly. There you go. You see, so. I mean, the BBC is part of the ideological the ideological program that's being played out. There's no surprise that they would use the same ideological view for something, because don't forget they did the same thing with the attacks in London, right? They wouldn't say that it was radical Islam. They would never use the term Islam. They just said that they were Asian. You know, they wouldn't even admit that these people were Arab, let alone their religion. That they won't do it. They won't touch the topic because it's part of a global ideological push. And it is global. I mean, people say New World Order and thing, but it doesn't have to be. No, what I'm saying is that it is a global project that seems to be in play.
Right.
All right, so let's go into that article a little bit.
Okay.
U.S. President Donald Trump has denounced the removal of beautiful Confederate statues amid a heated national debate about the U.S. race relations. Oh, God. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments, he tweeted. Let's get over it, people. You can't change history, but you can learn from it, he continued. I'm guessing that's another tweet. Ooh, BBC, that's a no-no. Mr. Trump drew outrage by defending organizers of a white supremacist rally that left a woman dead and dozens hurt. Okay, first off, BBC, it's Mr. President. Okay.
Yeah.
Second,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, right. That'd be like me walking up to the Queen of England and being, "How you doing, Toots?"
Yeah, how you doing, Liz? How's it going, Lizzie?
Hey, that's not gonna work. And
I mean,
second, never defended the white supremacist rally. Go ahead, sir. Go for it.
let me just expand a little upon that first point too. There, by the way, of showing the respect of the title. Right, this is a big concept in the military. When I served, had to call President Barack Obama the Honorable President Barack Obama. Okay, I did not like Obama. I did not support his ideas. I didn't, I didn't think he was a good president.
Yeah, but it's not about the man; it's about the office.
Exactly. I had to still call him that, regardless of my view of Obama. So the least the BBC could do is call President Trump either President Trump or Mr. President.
Yeah, but they do the same thing with, Prime Minister May. It'll just be Mrs. May. That's what they do. That's how they do it. They are at least consistent in their show of contempt, depending on the story that they're talking about. If it's a story they support, it's always Prime Minister May. If it's something they don't like, then it's Mrs. May.
Wow.
Oh,
seriously,
okay.
They're very, very fucking blatant about how they do this stuff.
Okay, so we know we already knew there's slant. All right, so the rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, supported by neo-Nazis and white supremacists, was in protest of the removal of a statue of Robert Edward Lee. Okay. And if you guys could hear in the background, my son's name is Robert Edward. Okay, and we did that on purpose.
And you got a
for Robert E. Lee.
You got a Confederate tattoo on his ass.
Yeah, he was born with it. No.
He's got the 13 stars on his ass.
Let me just say that the BBC here is doing a real good job at trying to twist the fucking way things happen. Firstly, the only reason the neo-Nazis and the KKK, quote-unquote, supported this rally was for the purpose of recruitment and for just the simple fact that they were seeking out a fight, anticipating that Antifa and BLM and the left in general would just show up to protest them.
Also they knew the police would be ineffectual, so it would end up in a conflict.
I don't think Richard Spencer actually really gives a fuck that a statue got torn down. No, I think Richard Spencer gives a fuck about the fact that his people grew during this event. Okay.
Yeah. They said this is a recruitment drive, and it has been happening. And this is what I'm trying to explain to MC the other day.
No, and let's continue with this BBC article. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we were at a statue of Robert E. Lee, and here they go. They continue, of course. A general who had fought for the pro-slavery Confederacy during the U.S. Civil War. Okay, BBC, let's have a little bit of a history lesson, guys. you were going to recognize the Confederacy until the Gettysburg Address. Can we admit that? Oh, and you, Cabbage, you
Yes,
people
but also,
price these guys. It's insane.
oh no, trust me, I haven't paid a BBC license fee for years. I haven't paid for one for over 15 years. I don't endorse them one iota. I couldn't give a flying fuck about the BBC. They've totally lost any kind of objectivity. They have done for, well, like I said, about 15 years. That's the reason I stopped even bothering to watch them. So I don't tune into the BBC at all. I know what kind of crap comes out of them. I go on the BBC website to look at some of the news articles, but only so that I can see exactly what the opposite of reality is.
Right. Right. So what is the story not? Let's go to BBC and find out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
Seriously.
that one show, I don't know which BBC it comes on, but the big question or whatever. It's got the question mark in the middle of the floor, and he's got like this just huge panel of people that talk and banter back and forth. And Milo Yiannopoulos was on it twice.
Oh, the big question or something.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I can't stand that show because they're just so.
No, it sucks.
He gets so many ignorant motherfuckers up in there. It's just like, come on, stop.
Yeah, I remember one that was a really good example of that, which is where they had. Oh God, who was on it? What the hell is his name?
All right. So let's dig deeper in this dumpster fire that is the BBC. All right. So
Murray. That was.
It turned deadly when a driver plowed into a crowd, etc. So Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson. Who's next? Washington? Jefferson? So foolish, Mr. Trump tweeted. I agree, Mr. President. I would call you Mr. President, not Mr. Trump, BBC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The beauty that is being taken out of our cities, towns, and parks will be greatly missed and never able to comparably be replaced. The recent removal of controversial statues, including some to leaders of the pro-slavery rebellion. Wow. Let me repeat that a little bit slower. The recent removal of the controversial statues, including some to leaders of the pro-slavery rebellion, defeated in the U.S. Civil War. Oh my God. Has been the latest flashpoint in racial tensions across the country. How many key words are they going to hit in one article?
That, like I said, they're spinning things to make it look like, the Confederacy was all evil and all bad, and there were.
Yeah, well, it's revisionist history, because Lincoln said himself that he would not have, freed one slave if it meant he could have kept the Union together. It was a political thing; it had fuck all to do with the freedom of the slaves.
You know what?
I mean, don't forget that also in the South, in the Confederate, I mean, that there was plenty of black slave owners, so it's horseshit. I mean, everything that comes out of the BBC is revisionist nonsense.
Well, yeah. And
you know
BBC, what? I would contend that the British imported slavery to the colonies. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, you could say that up until, like the point of the revolution, I guess. But it wasn't just us; it was also the Portuguese, the French. I mean, basically anyone who could ship people across. I mean, look at New Orleans. New Orleans had a massive slave industry, and most of those were being done by the French and the Dutch. They were hauling people across. And by the way, don't forget, it was actually black people who were selling black people to the French and the Dutch. They didn't go out. This is one of the weird things that people don't understand. It wasn't white people going into the middle of the jungle and dragging people out of, out of their homes, out of their mud huts and stuff. These are actual slave auctions that were being run in Africa by Africans, and the white people were buying shit. They were buying the people that they wanted to sell. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I don't think anyone should be a slave, but the fact was that they weren't originally enslaved by the white person. They were enslaved by the the chieftains. of their
Well, yeah,
particular tribe.
yeah, if you want to be honest, they had slavery for many years before European settlers came in to the coastline of Africa. They would
Yeah,
have,
but there was white slavery. They were pulling. But there was white slavery. They were pulling people out of Europe, for years. That's the reason of the Crusades. It's part of the backlash was because they were coming across, grabbing the white women, or the European women. That's the reason for the backlash. Because, the sultans wanted to fill their harems with European females. I don't know why, because Persians are absolutely gorgeous. They've got big eyes. Very pretty women, Persians. But anyway, apparently they wanted, it must be some kind of boast value. And so they wanted Europeans. So they went out and they started grabbing white women and taking them across over to North Africa. There was slavery of all kinds back then.
Listen, what's really bullshit about this, right? I just want to rant for a minute. The fact that they have made such a big deal and torn down this fucking Robert E. Lee statue. Well, if they're gonna do that, they need to tear down any statue of fucking Sherman. Because when Sherman burned his way through the South, wasting Union soldiers while he did it, he also
Yeah.
I'm like 99.999% certain slaves died because of his fucking campaign, because of his rampage down in the South.
Oh yeah. Well, what was the term that they had? That was like the scorched earth policy. That was named after him, wasn't it? And there was also the Sherman collar. Have you heard about that?
I think so.
They take, in order to stop food and things being able to be transported, they take like a part of the railroad, and they, the what do you call them? The rails. They take the rails, they heat them up, and they bend them around trees, and that was a Sherman collar, so that there was no way, basically a way of avoiding them getting supplies, because you can't straighten them out. You've got to get new ones. Right, so it was a way of ensuring that they couldn't get supplies back to wherever they, decreasing supply lines. That was the effect of it. Look it up, a Sherman collar. I think it's called a Sherman collar.
Yeah, I'll try to look that up. But anyways, what else is going on with the BBC, Mad Dodge?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, fill up the dead air, guys. I have my mom came over to talk about my bratty son. So fill the dead air for a minute.
Oh.
Yeah, well, anyway, but the thing is that when you're looking at this, then why not take down the statue of Churchill? Churchill in his day, going back to when he was Minister for the Foreign Office and the Commonwealth, he was the first guy who recommended gassing the Kurds, That was one of his. That was one of his ideas. He wanted to find out how to use gas in order to get the Kurds to pay their taxes, because they weren't paying. They weren't paying into the coffers.
Churchill.
So I mean, why not? Yeah, why not take down Churchill's statue?
Or why not? Why don't we just do away with all of history, right? Let's just forget that history ever happened and start over fresh. That's what they want, right? Fuck
yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, they don't really know why they want it. Well, I mean, what we're going to end up with, is what, Christy Winters as Queen?
Oh hell no! I would just
Sarkeesian for president.
I would pay Daring to come over and like slay the beast.
Jesus, then you would be wishing for dragons.
All right. Okay. What else is this horrible article gonna have next? Okay. Critics say monuments to the Confederacy are racially offensive, but supporters say they are important symbols preserving Southern heritage. No. Okay. Okay, no, they are important symbols preserving United States history.
Yeah,
You bastard.
yeah.
Not Southern heritage. Argue Southern heritage. We're arguing about the flags. We're arguing that we should have groups like the Sons of Confederate Veterans and the Daughters of the Confederacy. We're not arguing about statues. That's historic monuments, and they're covered. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. They're freaking covered in the Military Monument Act of like the 70s. They merged the Confederate monuments with the United States military. So therefore, it is the same thing. The Vietnam Wall. It's the same darn thing.
Yeah, you motherfuckers, it's the same motherfucking thing. Fuck you.
But if you want to teach people about what not to do, and if you think that these statues represent something you shouldn't do, then surely you need them there in order to show people an example of something that's happened, right? So even purely if you want to reinforce whatever dogma you have, the very fact that those things exist is a good example of is a way of showing people what it is that you claim that you're against. You know what I mean?
Oh God, yeah, and let's continue right here. So, why Trump thinks he wins on this? By Anthony Zerker, BBC News in Washington. Okay. Donald Trump's condemnation of white supremacists on Monday increasingly feels like a guy in a bar who starts his diatribes with, "I'm not racist, but," wow, fuck you, BBC. While the president has felt compelled to distance himself from the hate and bigotry that many of the marchers last weekend spewed, he has come down with both feet in support of the cause for which they were supposedly rallying. He may not be as surprising a strategy as it first seems, however. Recent polls show that the American public is generally against removing the statues scattered across the states of the old Confederacy. So many key words here, so much, and it's hard to wrap.
Yeah, but the BBC, don't forget, it's run out of Chatham House. You know that they are the quintessential wizards of propaganda. They can couch things in such nice ways, and of course, the BBC, with its reputation, they can get away with an awful lot that other people wouldn't normally get called up on, just because of who they are.
Well, fuck you, BBC. You sack shit.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, the old Confederacy,
the old, rather than just the Confederacy, why put the premise of old in? Like I said, it's subtle, but it's significant, and most people really wouldn't notice that.
Yeah, no, and the Antifa people, like, okay, you know what? You want to have a debate about the statues? We could do that. You could throw all the slavery and racist crap at me, and I'll throw all the historical facts at you. But part of your argument would be in favor of Lincoln's war, and then you go and deface the Lincoln Monument. What the shit?
Yes, but remember that the liberal movement has become so radicalized now they don't even recognize Malcolm X, like his dream speech, and they were decrying. I mean, the most founding members of their own groups, they'll turn on each other. They're cannibalistic. They really don't care. There's a woman called Germaine Greer, who is she's an Australian writer. She wrote a book called the Female Eunuch, right, back in the 60s or 70s. Now, she was basically what was perceived as a real radical second wave feminist. She got shut down by Anita Sarkeesian on a panel show by feminists, and she realized what fucking can of worms, like the Pandora's box, that she and her fellow feminists had unleashed. The same as Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins tries to go to Berkeley and he ends up getting cancelled. Just like Milo. I mean, you've got people like Richard Dawkins now being treated like Milo because of these radical fucking lunatics.
Yeah, or Jordan Peterson, people like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Academics, people that actually have some substance, behind it.
Now, this is interesting. I would like to fact check the BBC because I never heard this quote, but they go on, as Steve Bannon said in a surprisingly blunt interview with the American Prospect magazine on Thursday, drawing liberals into a continuous debate about race and identity allows Mr. Trump, it's Mr. President, and his supporters to become champions of economic nationalism. What's that even mean? Economic nationalism. Are they talking about isolationism? Like, what is economic nationalism? And I studied economics in college a little bit. I've never heard of this term.
Sorry, what was the term again?
Economic nationalism. It sounds like isolationism to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's probably just something that somebody pulled out of their ass. I don't think that's actually a thing. I think it's just something that somebody wants to make a thing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound real. I've never heard it either.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I took economics in college, and I've never heard of that shit. I mean,
Well, I've studied a bit of economics as well, just because I kind of thought about getting into the stock trading and everything, but the way things have gone here, it doesn't seem like the best of ideas.
well, yeah, you're supposed to buy low, sell high. Right now, the stocks are through the roof. Bad time to jump in.
Yeah, and it's been a bad time to jump in for a while.
All right, so let's see. A White House meltdown in the making. Oh, God. The BBC, like, I should just use them as my sources for the streams from now on. They're ridiculous. All right. Maine's Governor Paul LePage, a Republican, said on Thursday, taking down Confederate statues is just like removing a monument to the victims of 9/11 attacks. Yeah, I agree. But relatives of Stonewall Jackson, a Confederate leader, Mr. Trump, mentioned in his Thursday tweets, wrote an open letter to the mayor of Richmond, Virginia, urging him to remove the statue of their great-great-grandfather and all other Confederate statues in town. Why the hell would you do that if you're really his relative? What the hell?
I'm back in my other guys now. I got sick of the fucking jihadi.
All right, dead air. So I'll continue with the article. So Jack and Warren Christian, Mr. Jackson's great sons. It'd be great grandsons probably, but anyway, said removing the statues would further difficult conversations about racial justice. So okay, so half of the family of Jackson wants them removed, another half doesn't. So half of them are smart, and the other half are idiots, basically. Right? Can you guys hear me, or is there something going on? Everybody's muted. All right. Well, if you guys can still hear me, I'll continue on, I suppose.
Yeah, continue on for a second. I'm kind of busy at the moment. Just a minute.
All right. While we are not ashamed of our great-great-grandfather, we are ashamed to benefit from white supremacy while our black family and friends suffer, the pair wrote. We are ashamed of the monument. Robert E. Lee V, the great-great-grandson of the famous Confederate general, issued a statement condemning the violence in the wake of the statue removals. While the debate about how we memorialize figures from our past continues, of Robert E. Lee decry in the strongest terms the misuse of his memory by those advancing a message of intolerance and hate, he said in a statement to the BBC. He never would have tolerated the hateful words and violent actions of white supremacists the KKK, or neo-Nazis. The president's comments came after a week of turmoil over his response to the violent clashes in the small Virginia town. Mr. Trump was criticized for blaming both sides for the violence, which both sides are to blame, by the way, but belatedly condemned the white supremacists and neo-Nazi groups on Monday. Oh, belatedly. Oh, and here's the nice picture of the tiki torch thing. And they make it look like it's so huge, like it goes on forever. There was like, what, 500 people? That's it? Ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, look, I mean, and the point is, why would their ancestors or, the Robert E. Lee support it? It's like, well, you're going to have hereditary, I mean, this is what they're doing, right? It's hereditary guilt. We're somehow, like, you're responsible for something possibly that your grandfather did or something. I mean, like, that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, and the United States
it's retarded. It's absolutely fucking retarded.
Yeah, we don't have any hereditary titles here, so hereditary guilt is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what they're doing. It's, somebody at some point in your family's history did something bad, therefore you have to pay, reparations for it. I mean, what are we supposed to do, right? Well, how about the English, right? So everyone's calling for reparations against us because, slavery. Well, we never had slavery in this country. We enslaved our own people. You go back to the Victorian times, hideous for the average working person. They were living in 2 up, 2 downs, 10 people in a house. They were sleeping in shifts to go down to the mills. It was not a good time. The time of Downton Abbey and things like that. That was the period where you had the massive dislocation between rich and poor. The aristocracy and the penury. The time of, say, when Charles Dickens was writing, Oliver and things like that. It was at the time when, I mean, well, think about it, right? That was at the time when Britain was at its height in terms of income, but it wasn't exactly well distributed. But at the end of the day, how the fuck has that got any relevance to me today? Absolutely nothing. But then should I then claim that I can, the Vikings once invaded, so now Sweden owes me some reparations? Or how about the Romans? The Romans fucked us up. We can get reparations from the Italians.
Well, aren't most of you French anyway after the Normandy conquest?
No, so we can get reparations from the French. We also, I mean, there's been all kinds of invasions. I mean, we've been invaded by, no, the Spanish never got here. They tried, but the Armada got sunk. But yeah, we've been we've been invaded by an awful lot of countries. Well, how about our reparations? The cost of those wars. The unwarranted wars, the unwarranted invasions. Can't we just go back to these countries and say, hey, you owe us? Why not go back to Germany and say, look, you owe us a shitload of money because of World War II? How about going to France? We were there defending the whole of Europe for 3 years before America joined in. We never got any fucking payback. How about we go and claim that check?
I mean,
you see, how far do you push it? It's ridiculous. But like I said, we can go back to the fucking Roman times if they want to go down the reparations route.
It's true. But,
yeah, you are not responsible for your grandparents or your great-grandparents' actions. You're only responsible for your own. You're not even your grandparents. You're not even responsible for your parents' actions. If a mother gets caught for being a whore, does it mean that her daughter has to go to prison too? I mean, fuck off. It's just so retarded. I'm sick of people who even pretend that there's an argument behind that, that concept. It's moronic.
Well, no, and what about the English Civil War? Should some families pay the other families? Because you have hereditary titles over there. So
that's right. 30-year war. How about that? Does Yorkshire owe Lancashire money or the vice versa? Yeah, it's moronic.
Yeah, no, and I like the War of the Roses just mainly because I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and that's what it's kind of loosely based on.
No, it was based on the 100 Years' War, really.
Well, is it the Lancasters, the Lannister?
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's part of the whole Hundred Years' War. But you know, the 30-Year War was, you know, also in there. It was a group of things. It was basically selective, you know, history that they pulled from to make it. It's an amalgam of different parts of British history. Well,
Yeah,
European
no.
history, I guess.
And the Red Wedding actually happened before in real history, like up in Scotland or something like that.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's the whole point of the northern, you know, the icelands that they have in the north. That's meant to be Scotland, you know, and the wall is meant to be Hadrian's Wall, you know, the ice wall.
Yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
thought it was really interesting hearing about the actual Red Wedding, where okay, so it went opposite than it did in Game of Thrones. So a family came over and said, "Hey, we're just passing through. May we stay here?" And the custom was to go ahead and let them. So they stayed there for about a week, and then in the middle of the night, they just got up and murdered the whole family, and kicked
Yeah,
off a war up.
yeah. Well, that's really not how shit happens. But, all right, it makes for a good story, I guess.
Well, then how did it really go down, Cabbage? Enlighten poor American.
Well, that's what I mean because I don't get what it is that you're saying. That, like, there's an entire.
Oh, oh, so you haven't really watched Game of Thrones, so you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the Red Wedding.
Well, no, but I know history, and like I said, it's not like. But in history, nobody like just turned up for a week and then
Oh,
started off a dynasty. That's not how it works. You
oh,
know what
just
I mean?
I'll get you a link. That did happen.
No, it didn't. I can assure you, there'd be more behind it than just that.
Where's the link, Mad Dodge? Picture it didn't happen, bruh.
I have to go to Google first, man.
Yeah,
I thought Redbeard was jumping back in, but he
yeah, I
left.
did. Yeah, well, he was there. He showed his face, and then he fucked off again.
I saw that. I saw that chubby pirate. I love him.
Yeah, I was
Back.
probably talking too much Game of Thrones nerddom going on.
There you go. You nerded him out. That's what happens when you talk shy. Fucking Game of Thrones, honestly. It's like when you're watching, when you see somebody reading an adult reading Harry Potter on a train. You think, really, what the fuck has this country become?
Hey, Cabbage, I'll send the link, but first, it's called The Massacre of Glencoe. In 1691, all Scottish clans were called upon to renounce the deposed King of Scotland, James VII, and swear allegiance to King William of Orange.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with somebody just popping over and staying for a week and then
Well,
suddenly
it's a
creating a
long
fucking revolution.
Well, no, it's a long article. I don't know if we want to read a whole article about history. That might bore the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, but
So,
what I'm saying is that it didn't happen because of somebody staying over for a week and having a holiday.
yeah, I was bad at telling that
Yeah,
story. You're right, Cabbage.
yeah, you
You're
really
right.
were.
Yeah, that's probably what ran Redbeard off. Like, I'm a horrible storyteller, I guess.
Well, it doesn't matter. If you're going to make a story out of it, that's fine, but don't classify it as history.
Yeah, check out that link. Um, there was real life events that he drew off of for that. But yeah, did we want to go back to the Confederate Monument thing, or do you guys have something else you want to talk about, or is it just a short stream tonight?
Well, no, like you said, we got the Barcelona. We got the whole of the, what is going on with the radical left, and of course, the production of the radical right.
Yep.
What the cause and effect is.
Yep. Now you've got disgusting displays like American flags with swastikas on them. uh, and people hailing Hitler.
Yeah, but nobody really takes the. I mean, I don't even really think that most Americans are going to be taking the neo-Nazi thing seriously, are they? I mean, this is the problem. There are fringe groups that are being forced into the forefront because they are the ones. Like if it bleeds, it leads. You know, that old idea of the media. If it bleeds, it leads. So it, you know, if you got a car accident, it goes ahead of somebody getting mugged. You know what I mean? If there's blood and there's gore, so it plays well for the audience, right? That's what they, you know, that's what they're looking for. So they're looking for anything that they can try and shock or, you know, hold the public attention with. That's what the news is all about. So it doesn't matter whether these stories have any relevance or any, you know, any significance. All you got to do is have speculation on your side. That's why the mainstream media is fucking dying on its ass, because people are sick and tired of speculation. Oddly enough, is one of the reasons that you have people like Sargon, you know, who are getting so much traction. You know, because he does his reviews and he actually does his research. It's not just somebody, you know, it's not a specific partisan issue, and there's no way that you can pretend that the BBC is non-partisan. It definitely has a, you know, an agenda.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's very much. It really reminds me a lot of CNN at
RT.
times.
Yeah, an RT.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, well,
so
the media is just like even the foreign media, as it looks like with the BBC article. Like, holy crap, could they be any more disrespectful to the president of the U.S.?
Well, no, in actual fact, one of the main things that happened when the first president of the US, um, which was not the person you think it is, um, he
Oh, hey,
was
Redbeard.
Hello.
he said, "Hey, you're back. You got your shit together."
Yes, man. Had to
Good
restart.
man. Excellent. Cool. But yeah, no, one of the things was because they wanted to call him king or emperor or something like that, and he actually said no, it would be Mr. President. And that was it, Mr. Because the whole point was that it would just be the person. It's not, you know, the idea was that you would neuter the title by the Mr. aspect of it. Well, you can look it up. There was there was quite a weird debate about what they were going to call the president, and how he should be addressed, and the powers that were going to be bestowed. You know, when it was first created during the days of the Declaration of Independence.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Cabbage. When I saw that there was another terrorist attack, I immediately thought of London. I did not think of Spain. So I'm happy for you great people in the UK that it wasn't there for once.
Yeah, well, you know, we've had 3 in the last year. Well, this year alone. So, but I guarantee you, it's only a matter of time before the next one arrives. Sadly, which is why I changed my avatar. I've now decided to be the Crusader. I am the Cabbage Patch Crusader. Just so everyone knows.
Redbeard, you've been listening, I'm guessing. You have any thoughts on the terrorist attack?
Well, actually, I've been kind of listening. I've been on and off for the past 30 or so minutes. So
He's been masturbating. That's what he's been doing.
No, I wish. Don't wish.
You can just do.
Well,
you saucy devil.
Maybe I'll just start now.
Have hand will masturbate.
Yeah. So, fuck. What do I know about this? It's what was it, like something like 80 people fucking injured?
Well, there's 100 injured. A lot dead. I mean, a significant number.
Wasn't it just the one fucking vehicle too?
Yeah, but it was a big
fucking
one.
Christ, man. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were driving down, literally doing I mean, as you said earlier, what was it, the Grand Theft Auto thing? They were literally
like 100 miles an hour, just fucking plowing down the road. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, veering around, you know what I mean? Like, just actually targeting people, not just driving through something.
Yeah, getting every person's 100 points, so you just hit all the people you see.
That's it. Splat them against the wall, you know, crush them up. That's yeah, it's fucking disgraceful.
Okay.
You see, I can see the meme now. In America, one hit killed by car. Meanwhile, in Spain, 80 hit killed by car. What was the number? Was it like 80 people? Or
I think it was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I would have to go back to that article. I don't want to misquote it, but it was
100 people. Well, they claimed 100, but obviously they're rounded. You know, they're using rounding.
Fuck. You know what can I say that hasn't already been said? You know.
yeah. Were you around for the condescending tone of the BBC article on the Confederate monuments?
Oh,
Did
fuck
you
the
hear any?
BBC. I don't even care about the BBC anymore.
Good
Honestly, they're
yeah,
you know, I think if one thing we can take away from Snowden, it's that the BBC is in cahoots with our fucking government, and they're one of the most fucking Big Brother-esque entities out there, and
Yeah.
they definitely have their own agenda. So I don't think we should take what they say with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying earlier on, is that the BBC is part of an ideological, you know, global design program. That's the reason that they can't be trusted, because it doesn't matter whether it's regarding an American story or a British story. Like when the attacks happened in Britain, they wouldn't say Muslim, they wouldn't say Islam, they said Asian. You know, they tried every technique they could in order to avoid the actual topic that was in place. Yeah, I mean,
fucking Asians.
So clear. Yeah, exactly. And to us, I mean, to any English person, an Asian actually means like an Indian or whatever. If you're talking about, you know, you'd say Oriental,
an Indian or a Chinese or a Japanese or a Cambodian or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be Oriental in English terms. I know in America, apparently, you're not allowed to say that word anymore. But yeah,
well, some people do. The older people do. My grandparents still call all of most of Asia south of Russia Orientals. You know, it's
exactly. Asian is more sort of Indian. You know, that sort of thing. It's the Asian. Whereas it certainly has got fuck all to do with you know, with North Africa and the Middle East. Nobody considers that to be Asian, but that's the way that they like the term.
Exactly. You're right.
Okay, wow. Okay, I just popped over to RT, and they're saying that Syria calls for the UN to stop U.S.-led war crimes, pretty much. I mean,
fucking A. Okay.
Yeah. But they have it up top. It is 13 dead, 100 injured as van plows into pedestrians.
Yeah.
So that's,
by the way, out of those 100 injured, look how many are critical. You know, like in serious state. There's an awful. I think that body count's going to go higher.
Well, boys, this is the beginning of World War III. So, just pack your bags.
Punch your butt cheeks and hold on for the ride.
Yeah, it's thanks to our governments.
Yeah, but the weird thing is we will win, because the fact is that these other countries are so fucking backwards that they couldn't take a full-on onslaught. If the West really decided to stand up and do something, the trouble is that this isn't World War III. This is the supplicant fuck in the ass thing, because we're not fighting them. If we were fighting them, this shit wouldn't be happening. There is no war. There really isn't. I mean, if there was a war, we'd be over there, we'd flatten the whole fucking place, right? You'd turn the desert into glass, which we can quite easily do if we wanted to, which, I mean, it wouldn't be a good idea to do. But we could technically do it, right? There would be no reason. I mean, North Korea, people can go on about what a big issue that is. Bullshit. You know, if the Western countries decide to get together and say, right, we're going to fuck it up, there wouldn't be a North Korea by, you know, next Wednesday. That will be it. But
here's... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep talking.
No, I'm just saying we're doing it to ourselves. This is actually, like I said, this is the reason that it's part of this ideological thing, because they're trying to modify our social structure. They're trying to create. This is a technocracy. that is coming into play. You see it with the European Union, and you see it with how they're trying to build these different groups. I mean, people can say New World Order, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, global union, if you want to. You know, but that's what they're playing. This is a philosophical issue that is being played out. And that's why the BBC doesn't give a shit about whether it happens in Spain or it happens in America. They will not use the appropriate words to describe what is actually happening. They will couch everything in this bullshit rhetoric because they, you know, they are part and parcel of this ideological, you know, paradigm that seems to be being put into place. I mean, we don't know what it is, which is why everyone's sort of, you know, sitting there going, I mean, at least if they could explain it to us and say, well, hey, look, this is why it's going to be a good idea. It's going to take a while to actually work out, but, you know, here's how it works. But they're not, they're just implementing it. And people are looking around and people are reacting accordingly.
They don't care to.
No, they don't. And they don't give a shit.
You know why?
Well, yeah, because they don't. It doesn't matter if there's any less of us because, you know,
exactly. We don't matter. That's the bottom line. We, the peasants, the plebs, we don't fucking matter. The United States government will always live on, no matter what, regardless of whether
the establishment.
Yes, the establishment will always live on. No matter.
This is what I keep talking to MC about. He never gets it. He never gets the establishment aspect of things.
It's designed itself to be the most powerful entity on Earth, and it will always live on. You can't destroy it.
No, it's been designed to be that.
Right.
It didn't pop out of existence. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. I mean, when you look at how it was formed. You know, the use of Russia and France because Britain was busy with, you know, Europe during the Napoleonic thing when he was coming up and all the problems were kicking off in Europe. So Britain had to defend itself. So it was a good time for America to, you know, have its independence, supported by Russia and France. I mean, all of these things. In fact, Francis Bacon, some of the essays of Francis Bacon, I don't know if you ever read them, but they're really interesting. Because, you know, he actually predicted cities of well, I think he called them crystal, but not glass or whatever. You know, and he was the one who, I think he coined the phrase, you know, the shining, what is it on the hill? The shining, what do they call it?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, America's the shining castle on the hill or the shining house on the hill. Something like that.
Good job. Yeah. Good job, Mad Dodge. That's good. Good one. Thank you.
And that's what actually Francis Bacon was predicting. You know, back in, what was it? I mean, that was back in the 1700s. You know, this is, you'd be surprised at these things. Everything in Europe has been about the families, and everything in America is still about the families.
Well,
it really is. People think you don't have hereditary.
So Sir Ryder lost in the chat. He said, all empires fall. This one will destroy itself from the inside. I hope not. And that was my response in the chat. No, I really hope not.
No, but that's what we are doing. I mean, like I said before, we're like during the last crusade, it was barbarians at the gate, right? They were on the outside. Now we've invited them in. I mean, look at Merkel, right? That crazy bitch has invited yet another 1 million people into her country next year. You know, Muslim immigrants. She's committed to another 1 million people to come inside the country.
Cabbage,
right? So that's actually bringing them inside the gates.
Cabbage, I don't know if you like history as much as I do, but I've read a gigantic book on the rise and fall of Rome. And they lasted for, what, 1,000 years?
You can't compare Rome with it. Yeah, you can't compare Rome with it.
Well, can America at least be as kind of as smart as Rome? Because Rome was pretty damn dumb if you read their history. So America's only been around for 200 years. Can't we at least get close to 1,000 or 2,000 like Rome? I mean, come on.
Oh God, no. I mean, look, you know, empires have reduced because distance has reduced in terms of time. You know, like traveling. You know, back in the Roman times, it would take a month to get from Rome into the UK. You know, on a literally constant if you were on a horse and cart and you were trying to get from Rome into Britain, right now you can be there in what, 4 hours on a plane. So it's a very big difference.
I don't mean to cut off, and I will let you finish if you want to keep talking, but just let me know when you're done, because I do want to say something. Am I good to go, or do you want to keep talking?
No, please, yeah, no, go for it, man.
It's about Merkel's. That's why I wanted to kind of stay on track here. Apparently, I read something today that one of the parties in Germany is gaining speed. Was it? I don't know. I didn't read the whole thing. Was it her party or was it a different party that is gaining momentum in Germany? Has anyone seen that article? There's like a third party or something that's like going to be the number 3 party in Germany here soon.
Is that like a German version of UKIP or something?
I don't know. I just saw the article today. I like I said, I didn't read the whole thing, but it's looking to be like either. Like I said, I don't know. It was either a pro or against article, but I think it was against Merkel, and it was a pro other party. I'll look for it right now. But if you guys haven't seen it, I'll have to do some research real quick. But
one of the problems has been that Merkel's had an unfeasible rise in her numbers, or projected numbers. Again, these pollsters that try to create the future by saying, here's our polls, so therefore clearly if you don't agree with these, then there must be something wrong with you. So working on peer pressure. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if a group is coming up against her, because the Germans are sick and tired of it. They can put out as many puff pieces as they like, saying how Germans, are loving the immigrants and that they're inviting them in and, welcoming them at the train stations and things like that. But the average German that's actually having to deal with these people are sick and fucking tired of it. Of course they are.
I might be wrong. I know the neo-Nazi movement in Germany is rising.
The liberals are creating it. Merkel is going to create the next Nazi party if she continues the way she's going.
Well, she was a Nazi, so
yeah,
makes sense.
Well, no, wasn't she originally Eastern European? I
she
believe
was
she was
part of the
part of the communists. She was part of the communist bloc. She was East German.
I don't know. I saw pictures of her wearing the Nazi like female youth outfit, where they like learn.
No, I think that was just a bit of paint shop.
Oh, you think so? I don't think it was.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
It wouldn't surprise me if she was, but no, I believe that she was originally from communist Eastern Europe. If you look up her history, I'm pretty sure she was born in Eastern.
Wait, how old is she?
Germany. She's about what, 50-something, 40-something.
Oh, so yeah, she was not a fucking Nazi then.
No, I'm pretty sure that. Well, I mean, she could have been a Nazi. Well, maybe her father was
50 years old now. No way.
No. Well, no, I mean, not personally. No, she definitely wasn't in the Third Reich.
Right, exactly. So that's what I was thinking of. I saw a picture that was obviously a Photoshop, like you said. So I didn't know how old she was. But I thought she was like.
But
80.
she grew up in. No, God, no. She looks like she's 80, but she's not.
Well,
she's a hideous fucking troll.
That's my fault for not looking it up. I apologize.
No, I think that's Photoshop myself, but
obviously, yeah. Actually, whose channel is this on right now?
My dog.
Yours, actually, Redbeard. We hacked in and we started up a stream.
Oh no, we had Sir Riot a lot hack into my channel.
From his motorcycle.
Yeah, from his motorcycle. That's how good the Russians are.
Well, no, that's funny. On the intro, I was like, yeah, Mad Dodge Productions, and then Pirate was like, no, screw that, I'm taking this over. And then Cabbage tried to take it over.
I bet you it'll last another week, and then Sir Riot-A-Lot's going to be like, could you shut the fuck up about the Russian jokes, please?
Bring it
I really hope he says that. I hope he has a breakdown.
Where is he though? He's quiet.
No, he just came on the screen. He was there.
You did. You said nothing. No, no hello, no welcome, nothing.
Yes,
Because
you
I
did.
did not want to interrupt you guys. I've been listening to your channel as I was lane splitting from San Francisco to where I live.
Nice.
It was fun.
Nice. I just wanted to. I don't know if they're watching right now, but I wanted to give a shout out to my latest Patreon subscribers, Simon Joy. Thank you very much for your pledge, and obviously, give me your feedback in the Patreon stream. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, you should shout out to people that actually want to donate to you. I think I shouted you out yesterday during the day, saying that you were my only Patreon. So.
Oh yeah, man. No, I'll continue to shout out all my subs. It's a nice feeling. So.
Well, we've seen, you know, what's happening with all this shit. I mean, you know, like Dave Cullen now. I mean, he's been basically totally demonetized.
Oh
you know,
God, he's getting
forever.
so fucked, man. So fucked, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And a nicer guy you couldn't wish to meet. I'd love to meet up with him and have a pint with him. You know?
I told you earlier though, but I'll say it live. All my stuff was yellow, so it was limited, and now only 2 videos are in limited state. And all I did was I requested a review of my most popular video, one on Judge Napolitano, and it's green again, and so is a bunch of stuff. So I hope a lot of these other YouTubers, their channel corrects itself also.
You know, I have the opposite problem.
The idea that you have to go through that process just to have something, you know, because obviously it's going through some kind of AI bot, and we know what AI bots do. You know, they usually go psychotic, right? You look at the AI bot that Microsoft released, and it turned into a fucking neo-Nazi. Well, one day it was a neo-Nazi, then it or was it Google, the Google AI? One day it was a misogynist, I mean, like real radical misogynist, and then the next day they shut it off, reprogrammed it, and then they released it back on, and it ended up as a fucking Nazi. I mean, these AI bots are not anything to use as any kind of judgment call. And this is a big problem with this stuff. So now everyone's got to spend time, wasting their time, going back through, requesting that each of their videos, you know, has to be what? Reviewed by a person. Why not just fucking review it by a person in the first place? I mean, how's it saving anything? It doesn't make any sense. If they're willing to review them by people, then why bother with this ridiculous AI bot, which clearly doesn't work? I can't see anything on Dave Cullen's channel that is remotely offensive to anyone.
No, my channel would probably be worse. My streams.
Oh yeah, way worse.
Yeah.
That's a blacklist. I've seen quite a few videos, people just making a really simple video, a couple of pictures of cats, and they just go blah, 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 cat, blah, 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 cat. And then it's demonetized in a couple of minutes after they upload it. So
exactly.
I doubt it's actually an algorithm. It's just a blacklist at the moment. I mean, I'm finishing up the video on the Slavic paganism. It is going to have all kinds of Slavic stuff in it, including concept kalavrats. Apparently, kalavrat is a hate symbol. I can probably sue them for infringing of my freedom of religion, because this is a symbol of the sun and the unity. It has nothing to do with Nazism. In fact, Nazis considered us as subhuman. So,
isn't that an Orthodox whatever symbol?
No, not Orthodox. Orthodox is Christianity. This goes like 10,000 years before Christianity.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's like Druidic. Yeah, it's like Druidic.
Yeah, I'll have lots of pictures from the pagan holidays, and they have the all kinds of different sun symbols carved all over the place. So if its algorithm is going to pick it up as some kind of Nazi rally, I suppose, when the video doesn't have anything political in it at all whatsoever. But I don't monetize my channel.
No,
so
but that's why it is going through. But that's why I say it is going through, you know, like algorithms. Or it's going through. It's going through word recognition. You know, so they can pick out, if you say a certain word, it will immediately get put into the you know, into the yellow box. And if you say enough of them, then it goes into the red box.
I wonder if it can pick up my accent.
Well, yeah, that's always been the problem, especially with cars. Car voice recognition system. Have you ever seen that one with the guy from Newcastle? That is so funny. The guy's trying to program his BMW for voice recognition, and it just can't recognize anything he says. It's so funny. And he just ends up shouting at it. It's fucking hilarious.
What the fuck?
Oh, very good. Let's see if I can find it. But and also, of course, they use the metadata and they use the title names too as another filter mechanism. So if you happen to have anything which might be remotely sensitive in the title of your video, then that could be enough to get you flagged.
But people who are doing tests, they posted in like people's in blogs category, on entertainment category. They did not have any kind of trigger words in there. The guy just says there blah 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 cat, blah 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 cat, and there's a picture of the cat on the screen. It's a like cat video, and it's got demonetized. Maybe maybe when apocalypse started, they just sort of created a giant blacklist. And now they're going to use this algorithm thing.
Ah, right. So you're thinking that they basically blacklisted everybody, and now they're defiltering as opposed to actually applying a filter. So
yeah, kind of like a temporary measure.
Yeah, that could be the case. Yeah, well, that's really fucking draconian, then, isn't it? That's even worse. If that's what they thought was a solution, that is moronic. At least if they were using filter processes to demonetize things, it would make kind of some sense. A blacklist for everybody, and then try and, that is pure liberalism at its best, right? That's guilt. You're proven guilty. You are guilty, and you have to prove your innocence.
They have people shilling for them too. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying. You saw the memo controversy. They fired somebody over a memo that wasn't inflammatory at all. So they can give a fuck less about us.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, they don't give a fuck about you and I. I mean, our channels are 3 digits at best. But if you have a channel 6 digits, 5 digits, 60,000, 50,000, 250,000. 1 million. The thing is that I did a video on the subject. There is a YouTuber who is on the left side of things. He is in Russia. He's anti-Putin. And YouTube...
1 million subscribers.
Yeah, 1.1 million subscribers on him. Yeah. Almost 1.2. And he is being demonetized, and he is complaining about exactly the same thing that we complain here in the West. Problem is he doesn't speak English, so he doesn't know that exactly the same thing happens here. He thinks it's like just some sort of Russian censorship, but it isn't.
What you should do is you should.
Yeah, but like I said, this is the whole point about what I was saying earlier. This is a global ideological push that's happening. It doesn't matter where you're from. This is happening from the ground up through, so many different platforms that they are pushing this ideology.
They don't want us to talk about things. Doesn't matter which side you're on.
Yeah.
Redbeard was trying to talk. Go ahead, dude.
Well, no, I was going to say, but I've already spoke to Sarat a lot about this. It's, the chance of this guy from Russia talking to any of us is slim to none. He's a 1.2 million sub guy, and he doesn't speak English. So who could he speak to? He could speak to Sarat a lot, essentially. But would he? Probably not. It's, he probably gets the request every day. But at an interview, to get the other side of that on the English side of things translated would be fucking gold. That would be a gold mine.
Well, I can translate his video. There are 2 videos that I can translate. If you like, I can do that over the weekend.
Well, if you can, yeah. But could you imagine? Could you imagine if you got a fucking interview? That would be so goddamn. That'd be gold, man.
Yeah, he does an interview on his channel when he talks about it. The whole thing is in Russian for the Russian audience. He does not give a flying fuck about the West or what's going on in the West. He's talking strictly internal politics, and he is on the anti-Putin side, not on the pro-Putin side. So he's a lefty. He is advocating for all the transgenderism and shit. So ideologically, him and I are far opposite. But the thing is that he is being shut down just like Sargon Avocado and Styx and everyone else.
Separate beliefs, but you both be censored in a sort.
They don't want us to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, no, you got to think about the balls on this guy. He has 1 million subs, so he's probably on the radar in Russia, right?
Well, you got to think in Russia, they can shut you down a lot easier than they can here.
Well, yeah, he might get black bag. You know what I mean?
Well, that's YouTube that's shutting him down, not the government.
Yeah, but I mean, what they're saying is that, you know, the potential risk of him even expressing himself in that way is, you know,
29th Amendment, you have freedom of speech. What you cannot do is slander. So if you're going to come up with conspiracy theories and slander someone, yeah, you're gonna get in trouble with the government. But if you just disagree with the government, but you're not pushing a conspiracy theory and you're not slandering, if you have a well-weighed argument, fine. This guy wouldn't have gotten to 1 million subscribers otherwise.
Right.
See, he's not blocked in Russia, but he's getting demonetized. His videos getting fucked with. He's getting thumb down. His subscribers disappear sometime by 1,000 or a couple of thousand, and he's complaining exactly about the same things that we complain about here.
But what about services like Telegram and Russia? They had Telegram, I believe, is a Russian project, and they are getting lots of flack by Russia, being threatened by the Russian government. And Telegram, their manifesto essentially says we will not put up with government censorship. If any government threatens us, we will not, take down anything, yada yada. Yeah, Telegram is essentially a Discord in a sort of way.
Yeah, they are full on for freedom of speech, absolute freedom of speech, the libertarian kind. But the thing is that here in the United States, we collect data en masse. Not at the company level, but at like a backbone level. Russia simply does not have the infrastructure to do that. So they have a law that requires companies to do that and provide that data to law enforcement if necessary. Problem is that not everybody wants to comply with it. And if you have a system that has zero knowledge meaning the users got the encryption keys, not the company. Okay, like if you go to Gmail and you type a Gmail, your Gmail is encrypted, but Google has the keys, so Google can read the thing. But if you're using like a new iPhone, for example, whatever data you send through the iMessage is encrypted with the zero knowledge. You have the keys. Apple can't get in.
Well, that's questionable.
If they don't have keys, they cannot get in. You have to have key in order to get in.
Yeah, well, some questions behind that with Apple. Anyway, just an Apple. Yeah, but I get your point. Yeah.
So there are chat services available other than iMessage that also use zero knowledge, which does not allow any outsider, including the company itself, to actually look at your data. I mean, they have the data, but they can't read it because it's encrypted. And this is the beef, because Russians want to be able to do law enforcement and get into the mail or into the data if they have the court order, which can be stopped by the lawyers. But well, anyway, so that's their beef.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you, one way he might talk to you, you can go in and caption other people's videos, and they'll get notified that you did it. So you can turn his video from Russian to English captions. and then he'll get notified about your channel. So that might be a way to get that guy on your channel.
With the amount of traction this guy has, and probably financing, judging by the how pretty his studio is, he is probably financed by the Open Russia Foundation, which in turn is financed by another shadow organization, which financed by Soros himself.
Hang on, did you say how British his setup is?
No. I said his studio is very fancy.
Oh, yeah, but it sounded like you said it was British.
I might have broken up now.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, this guy might get.
It wouldn't surprise me if he was being sponsored by the BBC as well. If he's left leaning, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's like far left. Well, he's not the communist left, but he's SJW kind of left. He's very anti-Putin. Lots of subscribers, lots of comments, like 1 million views per video.
Yeah, he's
million.
Christy Winters kind of SJW.
Right. So trying to contact him, good luck. Shit, people with 250,000 subscribers do not reply because they have so much spam in their box that they don't even look at it. I mean, try to contact Sticks. You may be able to contact Sticks if you tweet directly at him, and on a good time, you might be able to catch him. But even that soon is going to be impossible. Somebody who's got 1 million.
Oh, go ahead. All I said was I haven't tried to get a hold of Sticks. I would like to talk to him, but I'm not, he's way above me right now in the YouTube scale, if you will.
I don't know. I still believe in quality, not quantity.
Well, no, if you notice, all these guys.
Yeah, but I mean, don't forget, all this shit kicked off because the SJWs, and again, the sort of Gamergate fucking morons, went after one person. That was PewDiePie, who's got, what, 52 million subs?
56, is it? Is that?
Well, it's probably, yeah, well, it's probably gone up after that silly bitch tried to they go after him. So, he obviously got him more traction, got him more attention. But yeah, I think at the time it was about 52. So, yeah, he's got an extra 4 million thanks to the silly bitches who don't realize the cause and effect.
Elites are prepping for 2018 is what's happening. In 2018, there is an election in Russia, presidential election in Russia. There is midterms in the United States. You guys got anything going on in Europe in 2018?
Well, probably we don't know at the moment because our general elections are totally up in the air. We've had snap elections and they're claiming that there's going to be a new one in about 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So who knows? Yeah, 2018, we probably will be having a general election again.
They're saying Hillary and Barack Obama are going to be running together coming up.
Oh, well, that'll be it. Well, he can't run again. Well, he could run as vice president, but he couldn't run as president, could he?
Oh, good luck.
No,
it will be spectacular flop. Spectacular flop.
Oh my God, would that be something though if Obama was vice president for Hillary? Like, come on.
I'd love to see I want to see a Family Guy episode of that.
I would leave the fucking country.
Fucking Bush dynasty, Clinton dynasty. We're electing pharaohs or something now?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I mean, Americans talk about dynasties if there's two people who do the same thing. I mean, it's not exactly unusual. You got kids who grow up, their father's an accountant, so they go into accountancy, or their father's an engineer, so they go into engineering. That's not so surprising. These aren't really dynasties. I mean, when you're looking at dynasties, you got to look at things like royal families or aristocracy. Two people doing the same thing, or like 3 generations in the same.
Right, a dynasty is more than 2. It's 3, 4, 5, or 6. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and there's nothing even remotely like that.
But
if you want to look at dynasties, you got to look at in America. I mean, in Britain, you can look at it through the family, lineage for political power, but in America, it's generally in the business.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your dynasties are like the Johnson family, the Carnegies, the Mellons, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, people like that.
Yeah,
that's where your dynasties lie, not in your politics.
Yeah.
I can go back to RT and find an article, or unless you guys have something you want to talk about. Go ahead and shoot.
Can somebody really, really quickly fill me in on what the fuck had happened in Barcelona? I did not have time to look at it at all. All I know is a bunch of people got dead, but I don't know how.
ISIS claimed responsibility for a wreck, a cars plowing through. What, that was Spain, was it not? Yeah. Okay, Spain. Yes, Barcelona. Okay. Sorry, it was a retard moment just now. But yeah, ISIS claimed responsibility for the van or whatever it was plowing through a crowd of people, and apparently 80 plus people, I think maybe 100 people now, what Cabbage was saying, are injured, and some are dead.
Yeah, RT is reporting that 100 people were injured and 15 dead so far.
It's another day, another ISIS attack, you know.
Driving down the road in a truck of peace.
He's Satan can't be that guy. He's fucking brilliant. Yeah, well, he's got more material now, hasn't he? Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, you know, and we're just, I mean, it was like the mayor of London said, you know, well, who was it? He said that you just got to get used to it. You know, it's just how it is. This is modern. This is the modern world now. You know, but nobody voted for it. Nobody wanted it. In fact, we actively voted to get the fuck out of it, and they're trying to derail the process of even getting ourselves removed from the insanity.
Sure. Fair enough. I want to point out what I said earlier about Obama and Hillary running together. Tristan Blaze in the chat says, Amendment 12, but no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of the vice president of the United States. Correct. What I meant to say during that was it's for the midterms. They're going to be running for like state, senate, and bullshit like that. It's like they're going to be running for the bullshit positions. It's not going to be the presidency, but they're going to be campaigning together. That was the news.
Yeah, but how could they? Because he can't go for president and he can't go for vice president now. So what is he? How can they run together?
I don't
Doesn't make any sense.
If they're just
well, they couldn't because he's already had his 2 terms as president, and he's also been a president, so he can't be VP.
No, he's not running.
The only other president, but if running together.
No.
They're running together.
No, not for presidency or vice presidency. They're running for other like state governments, not the government of the United States, but state government. So it's going to be them on the campaign trail together, jerking each other off for, say, governor. Or
I see. So it's for local government.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
But apparently they're going to be together on that. Yeah.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah. It's a fucking jerk off session.
Hey, Max Bear, just want to do a shout out to Max. Max, the creator of this very avatar, the genius himself.
Oh yeah,
wants any artwork done, go with that.
Especially Max Bear that drew my avatar also. So
yeah, he's in chat. And also, yes, you are. I may be a cunt, but you're a twat. That was just for Max.
Cabbage, you are kind of a cunt, dude.
Yeah, I know. I've cultivated it. I've tried so hard to make me who I am.
You've got the voice of someone who would probably review like a high-end, I don't know, golf clubs or something just so fucking pompous. Like you've got that fucking sound to your voice, and you would just like look down on everyone that came up and talked to you.
Thank you so much. Oh, fucking William F. Buckley. You want to hit me any harder?
Oh boy. Well, no, I mean, I do like your avatar today. It's very nice.
Yes, well, it's in response to the Barcelona events.
It is a very, very nice avatar.
Crusade time.
I wish I had
It
one
is,
that
and
good.
Max Burr is.
I wish someone would draw me a
Speak to
fucking
Max.
Redbeard one.
He will make one.
Max
will do one, and not only that, it's great because he will. You can actually watch him doing it. It's fucking brilliant. I love the exercise of just seeing it being done. It's fucking brilliant.
What does
It's about
Max?
half an hour.
You have to DM Max and find out your price. Mine was not expensive at all, but I didn't watch him draw it, so I don't want to throw out numbers because I'm not Max. So he follows me on Twitter. He's Max Burr on Twitter.
Actually, he'll do it for a penis pic. So if you send him a pic of your penis, he'll
I'll
give
just
you
send
a couple dick
pics, a couple little angles, maybe one from
Yeah.
underneath, a full hard on, maybe
That's
a little softy, and then
yeah, maybe if you give him a little chocolate starfish too, you might even get a bonus.
Do you want some redwood forest there for you, or do you want it shaved?
Oh my god!
Bleaching.
This is going down the toilet.
You see the beard, eh? What do you think down there looks like?
I don't want to imagine. I mean, I imagine all the people.
Oh, that's great. The Piper report. He's a cool guy, Cabbage. He says in the chat.
Piper.
Yeah. He's like, Cabbage, you sound like George Harrison from the Beatles.
I've been told I sound like John Lennon so many times, so now it's George Harrison. Next it'll be Ringo.
Oh, you don't want to be Ringo.
Well,
I don't want to be George Harrison either, thank you.
Shit.
Yeah, I think you went downhill from Lennon, right?
Yeah, really. This is not going well. It's a sliding curve.
MC, Cabbage is a spoiled pollinator? What the fuck, MC? Just go to the Hangouts and get in here and say it yourself.
He's such a bitch.
Or actually, no, I'll just stay there and watch. I don't know if I want any more yelling today after my son.
Yeah, we did have a little bit of a slagging match last night, I have to admit. That was a bit, it did get a little bit playgroundish. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes, Barcelona.
What's on the plate?
Well, it was Barcelona we were talking about. You know, the benefits of this cultural infusion that we're having.
Okay. Well, it's not anything new. This is going to be a how do we deal with ISIS talk, basically.
Yeah, okay, that's cool, Redbeard, but you can't kill them all. I mean, you can't have a genocide. So how are you going to deal with them if you were emperor of the world?
How would I if I were emperor of the world?
I've got a simple solution to that.
Yeah, so do I. I would just destroy the entire Middle East and kill all Muslims in the world. Yes, that's what I would do.
No, I wouldn't do that. No.
No, that's what I would do.
You're not thinking.
Do you know why? Because it's for the greater good.
Because you're a total bastard.
Yeah, I'm a bastard.
Oh, the inner libertarian is screaming. It's for the greater good. Fuck off.
Well, no, listen. Let me explain. Let me explain before you call. Okay, I would do that, and then once that is gone, then we can have our libertarian paradise. But I do believe there is no room for Muslim or Islam and other religions and cultures in the world. I think they are so far different that there is just it's just not compatible. So even if we don't get rid of them, there does need to be some separation.
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, quarantine the whole fucking area. The Middle East. Just, you know, nothing in, nothing out. I mean, like a no-fly zone around the whole thing. You know, treat it like a roach motel. It can come in, but it can't go out. You know, like you never take anyone back who goes in, who wants to come back as a radicalized ISIS member. No, you know, if they want to buy shit from you, fine. You can, you know, you can send ships to them full of cargo and they can buy it if they want to. And then they'll end up fucking killing each other anyway. Well, why would we need to waste our own ammunition? We'll sell them ammunition so they can shoot each other, but not so they can come and shoot us.
The more you fight them, the more they're going to infiltrate and kill people on the inside. So just lock up the borders.
Exactly. Just shut them down. Just totally isolate them. You know, roach motel style. You ain't coming out. And they'll end up kicking the shit out of each other. Problem solved. They'll, you know, they'll be able to solve our problems for us. Because they clearly can't agree with anything. They're living in like they're in the fucking, you know, medieval times anyway. So, and they seem to want it because whenever we give them any opportunity to develop or, you know, enhance their lifestyle, they don't seem to want to do it. They, you know, you give them an option and they seem to want to re-implement Sharia law. And Sharia law says you can't have technology over 600 years old. Yeah, I mean, technically, none of them should even have an iPhone.
Nachi Free in the chat brought up a good point. We could teach them to not be indoctrinated. Oh my God, really? If we could teach them how to not be indoctrinated, then maybe they can come around and be within the civilized nations. I mean, I'm sorry about the screaming. I really am. They're going to bed soon, guys. I'm sorry. But no, if you look at Iran circa 1950 or 1960, they had mini skirts on. They looked like a Western world. So we don't need to track the Middle East. That's a little overboard.
No, so no, we don't have to bomb them. What I'm saying is just, you know, I mean, they're going to blow each other up into 1,000 pieces because of their, you know, Sharia versus Sunni and things like that. I mean, they're, you know, the different groups. I mean, Iraq's more than happy to invade Iran because of probably, you know, a misinterpretation that somebody claims in the Quran. But let them beat the shit out of each other. Just stop them coming over here and doing it to us. That's my issue. That's the only thing that I think that we have to concern ourselves about is what is it we can do to protect ourselves against these fucking lunatics. And the only thing that really seems viable is a, you know, a no-fly zone and just you ain't coming in. Hey, Nachi, how you doing? I mean, they're going to blow each other up into 1,000 pieces because they're, you know, Sharia versus Sunni and things like that. I mean, they're, you know, the different groups. I mean.
Hi, the Piper Report. I was just having a conversation with the family for a second. How are you today, sir, or tonight?
Oh, I'm on a bunch of NyQuil right now, so I'm drowsy as hell. So I figured I'd come in and zone out and listen to you guys.
You came in stoned. Excellent. Good move.
Yeah. I really have nothing to say. I'm just here to listen. So I might join in every now and then.
Well, Nachi, join in as well.
Of course.
Well, Nachi, I think is arguing in the chat. I haven't checked for a minute, but I like Nachi, dude. And he does some great art, Redbeard, actually. But he is more expensive than Max. Max will do an avatar for a decent price. Nachi will draw you a portrait. So you're going to be spending more for, you know, a portrait. And it's worth it. He does great work. I watched a video where he drew.
Yeah, but Max's stuff is worth it too.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, I got overcharged, but still.
Can we?
No, they were both.
You can't knock.
Great artists, but Nachi does it like straight on paper, and he'll mail it to you. So you're
right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different kettle of onions.
Oh, exactly. So, you're looking at a higher price, but it's something you can frame and put on your wall. Max did an avatar for me. Oh my God, these children.
Your fucking
Now you
kids
had
are
them.
saying, shut up, man. You're talking too much.
You should give them some NyQuil too.
Too late to have
Yes.
regrets, mate.
They need what's it? The fucking
Valium?
what's that? Yes. No. It's what's that? That pill you can buy at the store. That
Unisom?
It's fuck. Is it? Holy shit! All right, fuck me for 5 minutes. It's
Yeah, I totally lost my sound. I don't know if I'm the only one or not.
Benadryl. Yeah, it could be Benadryl.
That's in Unisom. That's that. I used to have insomnia really bad back in the day, so I did all kinds of over-the-counter meds.
Druggy.
Melatonin, he's probably thinking of.
Melatonin. No, that's
melatonin. That's the
your
one.
skin. That's your skin thing.
No. Shit. I'm sorry.
That's,
Yeah, that's
melatonin is the is
No.
what
That is correct.
Yeah. Melatonin is a hormone that excreted from your pineal gland. It helps put you to sleep.
Yes.
Oh,
That
and
is
it
the
gives
one.
you shade of color.
Yes, you're right. Also, but you can get that in pill form, and you can give it. You could take that as a sleep aid.
What? And tell you what, you turn black overnight while you're asleep.
No, not quite. You don't turn black overnight. But no, if you give you can give melatonin to kids, it's not wise to do it that often because it is a hormone.
Yeah, it's safe. I mean, it's basically a multivitamin, essentially, or a vitamin.
They say you're not supposed to do it all the time, but if your fucking kids are acting up, whatever, pop them a fucking pill in their applesauce and feed it, and 30 minutes later they're going to be passed the fuck out.
Why would you want to do that? When we were kids, they used to give us.
No, wait a minute, Cabbage. I may be upset with one of my kids, but I am not drugging them. Okay, they have half an hour.
It's not a drug. It's a hormone. It's not a drug. It's different.
Well, it's in pill form. It's a drug.
Well,
my kids.
Oh, we used to give them brandy. You get brandy in your milk. I mean, that's what if our parents wanted us to go to sleep early, then you get hot milk with a toss of brandy in it. Worked a treat.
Yeah.
What up, everybody?
Good.
What up?
Hey, what's up, Nachi?
Hey, Nacho.
Hot toddies were good when you were sick with the flu, you know?
Oh, yeah. Fucking brilliant. Absolutely.
Oh, see.
I used to look forward to getting a cold.
I bet you did, Cabbage.
So, Cabbage, what happened with the old avatar, man? I love that little fucking, the little Cabbage Patch doll face. What happened to you? Is this more like you? Is this
I still got that one. No, the Crusader one is because of the it's in remembrance of the people in Barcelona and the the attack that happened.
No, yeah, dude. I was born in Barcelona, and the irony was that I remember a couple of years ago being here in La Rambla.
Is that why you got that sweet mask on?
That's the Cuban heritage, I guess. Even though it's a Mexican.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But no, man, it's what was insane is as the news was coming in, how do you call it? Because it was a slow day at this job that I was at, which I've lost already again, but whatever. The point is, as this news was coming in, it was interesting. They were actually almost trying to blame it on the Catalan residents that they're supposedly very resentful of the tourism. And I was like, Really? I know that there's a lot of nationalism going on in Spain between the Catalans want to become their own country. I know that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, that. And then and here's the interesting thing. Like for a second, I was almost believing it. And especially when it was just down to like one person dead, I was like, wow, I guess there's a couple of people who must be really desperate about the how do you call it, the raising of the rent and stuff like that, because that's why they're so pissed off about the tourists, you know, that the tourists are equaling high rent because of the Airbnb and blah, blah, blah. Until, of course, as the day progressed, you just start to realize, no, it's clearly fucking Allahu Akbar, even though nobody shouted out the Allahu Akbar. And then
well, nobody wants to say it. We were talking about that with the BBC. They will die through hoops to avoid actually saying what the fuck the thing is. It's only when ISIS comes out and claims it that they actually have to admit that what the problem is, you know? Islamic, you know, radicalism.
And then Wolf Blitzer on CNN tries to make the connection with Charlottesville as a copycat fucking, oh my, I was like, now I know it's ISIS. When he fucking said that.
Nachi, are you serious? I don't watch mainstream media anymore at all. You're kidding, right?
No. I only know about it because, well, you know, it was on the Drudge Report and stuff. That's the one that I kind of watch, or at least I follow, because I like that it's a news aggregator and shit like that. Not because of the whole right, because let's be honest, Drudge Report is pretty much a right-wing slant, but that's fine by me. But no, he did, and I just saw today, you know, fucking Atheism is Unstoppable is really fucking quick with his videos. He already cut a video with Wolf Blitzer saying that, you know, like literally saying that this is more than, you know, at that point, he was trying to tie it into a copycat of Charlottesville. And the guy.
Yeah, but if you're actually going to say if it's going to be a copycat, then where does the original copycatting come from? It comes from, I believe, wasn't it Belgium when this first thing happened, or was it France? I think it was Belgium, wasn't it? When this first technique was being applied. Then it happened in London with the Tower Bridge attack. So I mean, like, who's copycatting who?
And France as well. It's just it's amazing. And I think that's the thing. It's amazing how difficult it is to break through like this collective denial and delusion in society. I find it, man, it's like the more I do these videos and the more I connect with people on YouTube and do research in general, it is kind of scary to see how many people are either that dumb or that willing to just go with which way the political winds blow. It's amazing how few people will think for themselves.
Well, this is, you know, as enjoying our multicultural diversity.
I just wanted to come and redeem myself here. I didn't mean to suggest you were strictly a Mexican or the masks were Spanish, by the way. I only said that because I watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the Mexican masks are adopted between the Mexicans, the Spanish, the Japanese, and all pretty much all cultures. That's all.
Are you telling me that people misappropriating the Mexican culture?
Yes, they do. Definitely.
Wait, I didn't hear that part. What about the culture?
Oh,
just the mask in your avatar.
Oh, yeah, what about the culture? Exactly.
No, but Cabbage, Cabbage, what was it you said about the culture? Because I didn't catch it.
I was saying misappropriation of culture, right? Because that's what it's meant to be. I mean, the Japanese are using the masks and things, and it's a misappropriation.
Which is what you would have, which was what an SJW would say if anyone wore a fucking Mexican a wrestling mask or whatever. They'd fucking freak the hell out.
I am wearing a Riley face mask and touching my.
Oh my god, that thing would have the most uncomfortable Adam's apple.
No, actually, one of the biggest guys in Japanese wrestling has a kick-ass mask like that, but it has horns off the sides, and it's really sweet. I really want to get that and then use that in my videos. I think that'd be awesome.
Really creative. I've noticed the Japanese, when it comes to anything, like they will copycats. And speaking of copycat, they'll copycat whatever, but they'll take it to a whole other level. Whatever they fucking decide off, they fucking take it to a whole other level.
Oh no! Not only that, wrestling over there is way bigger than it is here. It's like
yeah. But remember,
they're like crying when the people like fail in the match. You know.
Yeah, but remember that's they were bred on sumo.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that was so you got sumo to wrestling is not exactly a massive leap.
But everyone, they all know it's fake. It's just, it's kind of like a soap opera. So it's like watching a show for them, and they're like, "Oh God damn it!" Like people cry in movies here. It's like them watching a movie, and they're like, "Oh no!" Except it's more interactive. So,
but the Japanese are weird. They're into tentacle porn and shit.
All right,
you can't explain the Japanese.
Just because I'm a dick, I have to ask the panel, have you ever cried during a movie? Anybody?
Of course. I think everyone has.
Have you ever watched during a movie?
What movie? I'll tell you which movie it was for me. It was The Bucket List at the very end. I don't know why.
That's just gay. You're a fag. Get out.
Yeah, right.
That's
gay.
I put myself out there, and now I got struck down by the Redbeard. What movie made you cry? Old Yeller? Tell me it was Old Yeller.
Oh fuck. Well, shit.
If anyone says ET, I'm gonna hunt you down and shoot you.
It was probably well, what was it? Someone go before me. Give me a second to think.
Oh, for me, I think it was, ironically enough, the fact that I wear a mask, the movie Mask with fucking, what's this chick's name?
Jim Carrey and Drew Barrymore.
How do you cry during the Mask?
Oh my god! Yeah, well, you might be crying, but it should be with laughter at how bad it was.
No, we share the one about the guy with the deformed face and stuff. That's the one where I slightly
the Elephant Man thing.
I slightly sobbed at the end, when the kid fucking dies. But
what was the one with Sally Fields where she's looking after the retard?
No, don't deflect Cabbage. Your turn, Cabbage. What makes the Cabbage cry? Titanic?
No, weirdly no. It was one. Well, I wouldn't say I cried about it, but I might have, welled up a little bit. But that was 84 Charing Cross Road. It's a good movie. None of you will have heard of it because you're all Philistines.
Hey, so by the way,
if you ever do see it,
how's the news being reported now in London or in England about Barcelona? I mean, have they finally come to fucking accepting that yes, this was an ISIS-inspired attack, or?
Oh yeah, well they've had to basically, they've had to admit that it was an ISIS attack. So, but they still avoid trying to use, Islam in any BBC. In fact, it was Madoj was just reading it out earlier on. The BBC footage, of the website, the articles, and they really, they will not use Islamic extremist terror. I mean, Islamic on its own, you could say, okay, it's unreasonable, but an Islamic extremist, you'd think would be a reasonable term. But they won't do it. They won't. In fact, we were saying earlier, I was mentioning earlier on, but they won't even use the term, Muslim or even Arabic. They keep using the term Asian.
Yeah. No, and now they're insisting on fucking Trump, blame all this shit on white nationalists. That is like, which granted it is, and let's not fucking.
It was both sides. Trump has a point. But
I agree.
The article though, they went out of their way to say Mr. Trump and not Mr. President. That's what irritated me during the whole article. Like, it's always Mr. Trump. But when it was Obama, it was Mr. President or POTUS or whatever. It really irritated me. And I'm not even a Trump supporter.
No, neither am I. This is one of those things where I hate using the word nuance, but I guess, it does apply here. There's just so many sides to it all.
I don't think there is a nuance. No, there are radical groups. I mean, nuance indicates subtlety. There's no subtlety in this stuff. You know what I mean? These are blatant things. They are clearly out in the open. There are people who want to ignore them. There are people who want to turn a blind eye to them. But these are fucking, you know, front and center, and they're glaring in your eyes. It's like trying to ignore a lighthouse.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe nuance may not be the best choice of words, but like when it comes to this whole thing with what's happened in Charlottesville, like I don't agree with how Trump handled it. I really did wish he would have said and denounced them straight away. Look, this is a problem with fucking white supremacist neo-Nazis.
He did.
But we do have to.
He did say that. I have the quote from him from the video.
But if I'm not mistaken, not the first time around.
Yeah, but the thing is,
he did.
Trump is not promoting anybody. Trump's not what he said. It's all shit. You know, that this was a bad thing, and all they wanted him to do was to decry one particular group. That's what they tried to badger him into.
No, I want to set this clear. I want to set this straight, because a lot of people don't think he did this, and he did. He came out and said in his last press release, no, the neo-Nazis, the far right, and everything were way out of line. But we also need to look at the left, because the left was there causing violence as well. And so if you wanna say the far right and the neo-Nazis are a problem, we also need to look at the other side that was fighting as well. And that's it. That's all he said.
Exactly.
And people are
and there's nothing wrong. Yeah, and that's the whole point, though. Because
Trump never said that, but he did.
But that's what. But when he was in the press conference, when he was doing his press releases, he said it quite clearly, and they were badgering him because they wanted him to decry one side over the other.
Yes,
and they were trying to push him to try, and he didn't. And exactly, and he said, "No, fuck you, I'm not doing it." And he, you know, it's like, I'm not going to do what you're wanting me to do. And then they're saying, well, he had 3 chances to do it. It's like, yeah, he had 3 chances to do a stupid thing, and he didn't take any of the chances.
This might have been the best time. This might have been the best time of his presidency, where he stood up and said, "No, because he even said, he didn't call them by their name. He said, 'Yes, fake news. Go ahead and talk.'" And then they started talking, and he's like, "All right, no. Here's because they were like, so you support the far right then?" He's like, "That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You're misconstruing it. What I said was," and he was so on point there on this last conference. I've never seen him more on point than this one before, and I don't know how people can take from this anything other than him being objective.
Exactly, and Redbeard, that's the whole point. People have listened to what he's actually said, and the reasonable people, which are the mass majority, don't forget, you know, just because the media is only promoting the left-wing diatribe, right, so it gets the most column inches and things like that on the mainstream, the majority of people are actually pretty fucking rational, you know, on the whole. You know, they look at what's going on, and they're seeing this nonsense, and nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying the bullshit. Everyone sees what it is, and they also understand what the threats are. You know, and where it's coming from. I don't think that the average person is being convinced by the mainstream media that Trump did anything wrong. I think what he said was perfectly fucking reasonable. And any reasonable person would also think that way.
I just want to make clear that Trump literally said, we need to, well, fuck, I don't think he said we literally, he said the far right, the neo-Nazis, the alt-right, were out of line, but we also had the leftists.
He qualified it.
Yes.
Yeah, he qualified his statement, which is perfectly reasonable, and that's why he doesn't look bad about this. I don't think he looks bad at all.
And people are still
what
saying
he said was balanced.
He's so racist, and that's it's not warranted. You can't say that.
No, it's nonsense. But that's the whole point. Yeah, but why not just call him a Nazi, right? That's what they do these days. If you don't comply with the left leaning, that's why they pushed him to try and denounce one side over the other, and he didn't. He said no. There was fault on both sides. It was lunacy, and we will not accept
And you
this
know
kind
what?
of behavior
The
from
best
anyone.
part, the best part. Let me take the floor here for about 30 seconds. The best part is he said, you know, we have what we have here is people tearing down history, whether it be good or bad. We have people tearing down history for the sake of fitting their own narrative. And what happens next? What do we do? What do we do? Tear down Jefferson? Tear down Washington? What happens next? And I shit you not, people. That's a lot. Any logical debater would say that's a fallacy. That's a slippery slope fallacy. What comes next? You know, it's you have something here. Well, it's gonna degrade to this, right? That's a fallacy. But shit you not, it's on my Twitter right now. They are calling to remove the George Washington monument right now because George Washington was not friendly to black people.
Oh, well, they'll be pulling Abe Lincoln out of the the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh yes, they also desecrated
way,
the Abe Lincoln. They also desecrated the Abe Lincoln Memorial. So there's that.
Yeah.
Our country is in shambles right now.
We have a new joiner who would like the floor for a couple minutes. Go ahead.
Sure.
Hello.
Hello, lovely.
How are you, Cabbage? You change your avatar. Actually, we have to look at the roots of what's going on. Why the outright or the right or even the Nazis decided to have that rally there in Charlottesville?
I'll tell you why. Because there's freedom of speech here in this country, and they're allowed to do it, and they had a permit to do that, and that's why.
Yes.
And you know who did not have a time out. You know who did not have a permit to do that?
No,
who did not have a permit?
No.
Let me continue.
Okay.
It's because the vice mayor of Charlottesville wanted to remove that statue.
Yes.
And the vice mayor is a black person.
Right.
So his actions, even though the majority of the city was against the removal of the statue, he wanted to continue with that.
Mm-hmm.
It made when you think about physics, every action has an opposite reaction in the same direction with opposite forces.
You're thinking too far into it, honestly.
White nationalists decide to go and rally and exercise their First Amendment, and they have a permit. What happens next? There is a counter protest. Of course, when you have a counter protest and you have Antifa involved and the left
stop.
there, Black Lives Matter.
Who had the permit? Who had the permit, though?
The outright.
Yeah, but the thing is, she's not saying like in terms of how did they do it in terms of like the ability to do it because of the rights that are there. It's why did it happen, and the reason it happened was
I think we all know
the idea of even removing because of removing the statue.
Yes. The reason that someone died, it's because there was an unauthorized counter protest that was badly handled by the city.
Mm-hmm. Well,
they should have made everything to avoid that the two crowds crashed into the other. If,
they should never have been allowed to.
If the first one had a permit,
that's fair.
Yeah.
But
comes in, I think.
But don't you think
we're saying this last night?
Don't you think the bigger problem is not who was protesting, who was counter protesting? Well, I do believe the counter protests, since they didn't have a permit, they were in the wrong. They were not doing it legally. But the how do I put this? The should you be afraid to protest? Should you be afraid of getting hurt at a protest? I know that's not exactly. No, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm not like calling you out. I'm not trying to straw man or anything. I'm just saying this was an argument we had with a couple other people or thoughts we had. No, I think the whole thing went just to shit, you know? It was a horrible fucking show. And I think it says something not on the people who are well, shit. I think it says something more about how people are being raised in this country to not respect the rules and the laws than it says about anything else.
I think it just says it's there, dude. It's unfortunate there are some people, extremists, who are horrendously misguided on both of these sides. Both of them, the alt-right neo-Nazis and the Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they represent these two polar extremes that are an unfortunate aspect of human nature, and they're just a lot more amplified in a small group of people. And the sad thing is, and those people,
and they get publicity.
Exactly.
No matter,
and that's
no matter what your beliefs, you should be able to stand next to each other. Even if you hate each other, you should be able to stand next to each other and protest your views and not fear violence. And we just can't do that because apparently we're not.
No, I think that's adults. A bit idealistic. I think that's
it's idealistic. It is idealistic, but
but the thing, I mean that's fine. But the reality is that people who disagree with each other on these sort of levels, that they are going to be in opposition. Now, the thing is, that's where you have the police. That's meant to be the thin blue line, right? Where you keep the two apart. You allow the people who are doing their legally permitted protest. Yeah, the legally permitted protest
can make that argument
was what the police should have been protecting. That's what the police should have been protecting.
Cabbage. You can make that argument about anything, man. You could say, well, why can't we just stop all murders at gas stations? Well,
yeah, exactly. Why can't we all just get along? No, I'm being realistic. You're being idealistic, saying that we should just be able to stand shoulder to shoulder and just disagree.
Well, the police are nowhere near a gas station.
I want to get my word in.
No, exactly, but that's the whole point. It was bad policing. I mean, what they should have done was those two
police shouldn't need to be there.
Been allowed.
No, we're all raised. We're all raised to some.
The police shouldn't be, but the reality is. Yeah, but you see, that's what I'm saying. You're being an idealist. The fact is, the reality is that we know that that's not.
Are you not? Were you not raised with any sort of like? What?
No. It doesn't matter whether or not I would do that. The point is that in a real world scenario, that people are going to fight amongst each other.
Yes,
that's why you have the police there, and therefore they should never have been allowed to be. They should have been funneled to these people.
Cabbage. I know.
Let me talk real quick, or I'm going to hit the mute button.
You know that? Why are you coming up with this nonsense?
No, just wait.
Okay, fine.
No, about 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years ago, we were able to have protests with the small-ass, stupid Klan marching in these cities. And you know what happened? They had a couple barricades and some counter-protesters. But they were allowed to speak. They're allowed to do their thing, and they turned around and went home. It's the environment now that is making this go over the edge, in my opinion. It's the Antifa showing up. No, wait, Cabbage. Redbeard, you disagree with me?
No.
But social media has provided the opportunity for people to gather much more effectively, much more quickly, and certainly,
let the man talk.
Well, no, and my point is, if we were able to do this peacefully before, which we did, if you want to bring up the 60s, sure. That wasn't so peaceful, all right? It wasn't. But when you're talking about the 80s and 90s, you had these stupid Nazis marching. You had David Duke himself. And there was no riots. They didn't tear down buildings. They didn't kill garbage cans like Antifa just loves to do. this stuff did not happen. And they still had telephones, dude, and we still had internet in the 90s. It was dial-up.
Yeah.
It sucked. But if you remember,
yeah,
AOL
there wasn't Twitter. There wasn't Twitter, and there wasn't. Yeah, the AOL was not going to be used as a major platform.
Well,
and yeah, I agree with you. I think there has been a social change. I agree with that aspect of it. That people are becoming more reactionary.
But
that's down to the education system.
The extremism that is happening in the United States at the moment is very divisive. And it's not realistic to imagine these extremes at the same protest side by side without having a conflict. That's not how
but
it
there
is
is no.
now.
I agree with the cultural change and the fact that children are not being brought up to respect like their elders or respect anything. I agree with that, certainly. Be it when you're saying that there's been a change in the, the cultural dynamic, that, in terms of how children being brought up. Because when I was brought up, we used to get 6 of the best, like you would get a little slap if you'd done something wrong. Character building, nobody, no big issue. You could go out and you could venture out into the world, and you didn't have to worry because your parents thought there was a rapist around every corner and things like that. There has been a change in the way in which children have been brought up. The little snowflakes, you got to protect them against everything, that they're always perfect and they get a certificate for participation, all that kind of thing. I totally agree with you that there is that difference, but that's what's bred this liberal fucking bullshit that's going on in the universities now. That's what they're breeding of.
But that's exactly at the root of the problem. Sorry, Ignacio. It's at the root of the problem. There was this cultural change, and what's going on now? It's the academia is completely taken over by the left, and they promote this culture. They are teaching entitlement, and there is the issue of the quotas. A black woman would always be accepted first. The last person to be accepted into a university would be a white male. So that's what happened at Google during the past 2-3 weeks. No dissent is allowed. People want this all-inclusive diversity, but that's not how the society is at the moment. It's not the dynamic of the society.
Wait, can I get the floor for a second?
Yeah.
In terms of how people are being raised, I would agree with Redbeard on this one. Is he gone, or I guess he's muted himself? But here's the irony: the very first death that happened in Charlottesville, that's where you do have to admit the white nationalists are the ones that are guilty for that. And it was with that guy, I forgot his name right now, but the guy driving the Dodge Challenger. And,
yeah, but no, that guy.
Really quick, if I can just
one psycho doesn't incriminate.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Yeah, you can't tar everybody with the same brush.
Now they are all idiots. Nachi, don't leave and think I'm a racist. I'm not. They're all fucking idiots. But if I lived in the South right now, I'm going to join the Sons of Confederate Veterans anyway. So if they were marching on that statue to protest about history, acts, I would have joined them. Does that mean I would have been responsible for that psycho?
No, but the point that I was trying to tie in, speaking of people who are not raised right, that guy with a cursory fucking little bit of research that I read up on him when they interviewed his mother, apparently, unless his mother's lying and she's trying to distance herself from her own son, or unless I was reading fake news, supposedly he had actually he was very he was abusive with his own mother, and he supposedly locked up his mother in a bathroom one time for her trying to fucking keep him from playing video games. And I don't know, that's where I don't know anymore. I don't know if she was a single mother that had a hard time raising a boy that started turning into a man, and he looks like a pretty thick guy that would give, you know, most men a little bit of a fucking hard time. But I think it's also important to note, like, I notice people kind of want to dig into one side, and that's exactly what I was talking about before also, the psychology behind this. And here's where I do think there is quote-unquote nuance. If you really want to be objective about this, there was really no need for these people to go there to Charlottesville to protest the taking down of the statue. Those people were not from Charlottesville. If I'm not mistaken, the majority of the white nationalists going over there were not from Charlottesville. They actually traveled over there. And believe me, I'm not a big fan of Vice and all that, but watch the Vice footage. Even though they're focusing on the white nationalists and all that shit, and I'm sure, and towards the end, it kind of pissed me off how they tried to make Antifa and the Black Lives Matter seem innocent. You still can't say that it's taken out of context. Those people.
Oh, yeah, it was provocative. Yes, but the point is that the reason that it even happened, like Lovely was saying, is you've got to look at the crux of the problem. And the crux came when one individual decided that it was acceptable to decide to change history or just tear down a monument, right? When there was nobody calling for it, it was just one person's little private crusade. And so therefore, you know, they say they're going to take down a monument. That's bound to, you know, cause people to get upset about it, because they're saying, well, hang on, why is your heritage? And it doesn't matter where they came from. They're American, right? This is American heritage. Doesn't matter whether they came across one state line or two state lines. You know, it'd be like me traveling from, you know, from Leeds down to London because somebody wanted to pull down the statue of Churchill or something. You know, I don't see it as relevant, the distance that people went. It's, you know, it was a heritage issue. And why did it happen? Because of some silly bitch who decided that she took offense to it being there, right? It wasn't like it was, nobody else had given a crap about it until one person made it their personal little, you know, issue.
But nonetheless, I would think that that is something that should be decided by the people of Charlottesville. I don't know why they haven't put it up for a vote. I mean, or
but
maybe
it was voted, but the vice mayor disregarded the opinion of. There was some kind of a vote. I don't remember. I read so many tweets today on this issue. I forgot exactly if it was some sort of plebiscite. I don't remember. But the citizens of Charlottesville made it clear that the statue should stay. It was a provocation coming from the vice mayor, and he should know that there would be consequences to that.
Look, that's a fact. That's a detail I did not know. I thought that this was something that was decided, because from what I understood, the way I've read it, was that this was already planned. They were going to be removing that statue regardless.
No. I would need to dig.
It was
what I read today, but for certain there was a pronunciation by the citizens, and the vice mayor disregarded their opinion, and he was bent on taking the statue away from the park. So yeah, the reaction was to be expected because there was a provocation, and there was the counter provocation that was led by Antifa and Black Lives Matter, because oh my God, white nationalists are protesting, so we must point our collective fingers at them because they are a hate group. By now, how you define a hate group?
But exactly, anyone who disagrees with you technically is a hate group now. But I agree with you know with what Redbeard was saying, in the fact that these people had a right to do it. The thing is that they should have been protected. The people who had the permit, the ones who actually went through the legal system. It's not like it was a surprise. Like, these people didn't suddenly turn up overnight. they'd already applied for the permit to actually do this thing. So the police and
guys,
and the city knew it was happening. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I need to dip out. I just want to say goodbye real quick. I need to go though. It's it's kind of.
Okay, you got to find your dealer.
Well, no, I don't have a deal. I don't do anything. But I do need to leave. I'm sorry, but I thank you for the conversation.
I'm sorry.
I know. I didn't even get to. I did not even get to talk with Lovely. I apologize. I kind of only gave you an asshole view. Well, I kind of am.
Let me give you the link to my Twitter here in the chat. Hold on. I don't remember.
Hurry up and do that because I'm only here for like another 30 seconds or so. So, Cabbage. Yes, and send me your link too, and if you have anything going to follow. But I do need to go. So
Redbeard, always a pleasure, mate.
Yes,
always a pleasure.
Yes, always. Thank you guys very much.
Take care. Enjoy.
All right, adios.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. And
yeah, no problem.
And, I would ask though, Lovely, do you think they should take the monuments down? Do you think that's a good thing? Because I would argue it's not.
They should what? Sorry, there was a noise here.
Oh yeah, I know. The kids are going to bed though. Finally, thank God. But
what is this tomfuckery?
Hi, Benny. Welcome.
What's good?
What up, Benny?
Do you think they should take the monuments down? No. And if they do, should they take Jefferson and Washington down next?
No, that's wrong because did you see the interview of Condoleezza Rice?
No, I didn't.
Condoleezza Rice, where did she come into this?
Let's
this
just
is a new one. I didn't hear anything to do with Condoleezza Rice before. That's a new one on me.
Let's just take down all the statues, pretty much. I mean, hell, let's take down the Martin Luther King statue. He was against gay marriage. Let's just take that shit.
Well, Martin Luther King, they're trying to decry him now. You know, the especially the LGBT groups and things like that. They're saying that he was a non-transgender approving individual or something.
Also, while we're at it, why don't we take down the Walt Disney statue because Walt Disney was a known anti-Semite.
I think what we should do is just fuck Mickey Mouse through the streets of New York. What the hell?
Nachi, what's your thoughts? Should they be taking down the statues?
Here's where okay. Last time I say the word nuance, I think.
Is that the word of the day?
I think if, for example, Charlottesville, if they took a vote to take it down, dude, that should be decided with the people of Charlottesville. But I also think it's not a good idea to go around taking shit down that slightly offends you. And yet, at the same time, I can only imagine what it must feel like for a Black American to see some of these Confederate soldiers and statues, which I myself, when I was younger, and I'm Cuban, okay, but I myself already sensed a little bit of that when I was younger, and I started really understanding what the rebel flag meant. Like, I always loved the rebel flag because I grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard. And I never knew that the General Lee was about it was about Robert E. Lee. And again, it comes into a little bit of there's so much to it because when you really read up on the life of Robert E. Lee, sure, he was a slave owner.
Exactly. So it's like trying to find a way of taking offense to something. Like you didn't take offense to it until you decided to take offense to it.
No, I'm going to argue with him enough already. I could tell. Let him finish.
No, I was just I think it depends which Confederate soldiers, and again, I think it's town by town, and if the people want them down and they vote for it in a democratic process, that's their decision. I don't think it's a good idea to go around taking down every single fucking historical statue because people who make history are usually not nice people. They're usually the kind of fucking people
they're the cunts who won. They're the ones who are the worst cunts because that's how they won. Oh, by the way, Defrater, good to see you, darling.
What up, MC?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, here we go. MC's here. Let me respond first, MC. So, Nachi, what I took from what you said was that you consider Robert E. Lee a bad person. Is that correct?
Man, he's not someone I admire. Let's put it that way. You know,
well, I named my
anyone who was a slave owner. You have to know what you're fucking doing is evil, dude. I mean,
well, that's Lincoln then. That's Lincoln. That's every single one of your founding fathers. So you've clumped them all into the same group.
Lincoln was not.
Wait, hold on. Here, let me just really quick.
No, certainly Washington.
Lincoln wasn't one of the founding fathers. Just really quick, and not all of the founding fathers were slave owners. And Benjamin Franklin, my favorite founding father, he emancipated his slaves. So enough people.
Yeah, but only after his death. He didn't do it during his life. They only got emancipated after he died.
Hold on. All right. Let's talk real history here. Franklin never owned slaves.
I thought he did. I thought Aunt Jemima was one of them. He had a very few.
No,
that's what I thought. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he never owned slaves. He wasn't a slave owner.
Great. No, I like him.
Washington did emancipate his slaves upon his death. Jefferson promised to emancipate his slaves upon death, but was talked out of it. John Adams, who was one of the founding fathers, was another one who never had slaves, although he was kind of a cantankerous bastard. All right.
Weren't they all? Most of them had syphilis.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, John Hancock, who's everyone's famous signature everyone remembers, did have slaves for a time, but not for very long, and he emancipated his slaves as well. So the thing is, I mean, it was the nation has, in many ways, if you want to look at it, the original sin of slavery. Okay, so they grew up in a different time, in a different era. This is also true, of course, of Lincoln, and this is also true of Robert E. Lee and the conditions that he was, he grew up in for that time frame. All right.
Well, no, real quick, I would add that Robert E. Lee married into the Washington family, so he was directly connected to the founding fathers.
Well, he did have connection to the founding fathers. That's true, but that doesn't make him a founding father by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But he did. He married Custis. Was it Mary Custis? I believe.
He did marry Custis, and through that,
the granddaughter of Washington.
I believe Martha related to Martha Washington. Washington's mother.
Yeah, go ahead and continue. I'm sorry. I really wanted to get into this with Nachi because I have a very different point of view.
Well, if you ahead. I understand that you guys want to get into this to a degree, and I don't really want to interfere with your discussion really, but you've got to understand how what was going on at the time frame, and you got to keep things within the historical you got to be historically accurate as well as with accurate and historically relevant for the time frame that all this happened in. Okay, it is true, of course, that Robert E. Lee did sit up there and speak out for really freeing the slaves. However, it's also true, all right, that the Constitution of the Confederate States sit up there and mandated basically slavery.
It is also true that they outlawed the slave trade, and me and you have had this argument before.
The slave trade had already been outlawed since the 1830s.
Yeah, but if they were really about
hang on. How can you mandate slavery if it's been outlawed?
No, the slave trade. They're talking about the capture of people in Africa and their forced movement to the United States had been outlawed since 1830.
Okay, so you're talking about indigenous slaves.
Correct. That did not free slaves in any way, shape, or form.
Well, no, it didn't free slaves, but eventually the amount it would have died out is the argument that Robert E. and Jefferson Davis both had.
Well, they may have had that, but Jefferson especially was one of the ones who helped write the Confederate States Constitution, and the Confederate State Constitution more or less mandated slavery.
Now hold on. Why have I dropped in?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, what I don't get about this is how the fuck has this got any relevance to anybody who's living today in terms of their life, right? They haven't been affected. I mean, there's no single person in America who can claim that they have been, under suffrage of slavery. I still don't get it. I mean, fine, shit happened in the past. We got plenty of it. I mean, you think you've got problems in the last, 270 years?
You say
fuck
that.
that.
You say that.
Thousands of years of shit.
Yeah, Cabbage, that's all true, but you also got to take a look at right after the Civil War, all right, that the abuse in many ways and the racial abuse continued. You can't look at the Jim Crow laws and ignore them, and not so much the laws in and of themselves, but how they were then misapplied and applied only to African Americans, all right, and how it disenfranchised them. That can't be ignored. And it also can't be ignored.
Right.
Hold on. It also can't be ignored that many people, all right, that those laws, all right, harmed, all right, like it or not, still alive.
Well, okay, but how many? I mean, what, like a 90-year-old? It'd be like somebody, I don't know. It's where do you end it? It's like, at which point? You know that the laws have been changed,
agree.
that these things have been taken into account. The people who are now currently protesting, the teenagers that are, that think that they're rebelling against something, they have fuck all to do with the thing that they're actually talking about. It's not influenced their life. Otherwise, they wouldn't be at university in the fucking first place.
To an extent, you're right, but you also have to understand that some of the Confederate soldiers, specifically Nathan Bedford Forrest, right, was one of the founding members of the KKK, and his statue litters the South. All right, and the KKK is what you saw gathering, all right, in Charlottesville. It's one of the groups. It wasn't the only group by any stretch of the imagination, but it was.
Wait, MC, that's not the same KKK that is today.
No.
That was a
whether you like it or not, their descendants and direct descendants, they can trace it back to that.
That was a response to Reconstruction, where they were all
understand that it was a response to Reconstruction. All right, but you also got to remember that it's also a response to the Fort Pillow massacre as well that Nathan Bedford Forrest was part of.
That's why I have the problem. That's why I could see and I can pretty much empathize with wanting to take down some of these Confederate statues, because what it represents, and that's where I can only imagine what it must be like for a Black American. I'm not going to compare the same thing, but it's almost like me seeing people in this country wearing fucking Che Guevara t-shirts, and yet I don't expect people to take them off. I don't expect them to be outlawed. But there is something. It's a little bit of a smack in the face, dude.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well, hold on.
Nachi. Oh,
hey, mate. When I was in university, I had a Che Guevara poster.
Wait, Kevin. Benny has the floor right after me. I agree with you with Che Guevara. I wouldn't ban it either, but that is a slap in the face. But that's more modern and more relevant. Do you know what I mean? And Benny,
I do.
Oh, Nachi, you go ahead and respond first. My bad, dude. I'm still trying to get a handle on running the show here.
No, hey, it's your stream, dude. So you tell me, man. And by the way, thanks for having me on anyway to begin with. No, all I'm saying is it'd be nice if people kind of understood that, and you see absolutely none of that empathy or understanding from the white nationalists, just for lack of a better word, white supremacists, white nationalists, neo-Nazis, whatever the fuck you want to call them. The ones that showed up to Charlottesville, and you see the footage of them, especially the night before, with the chance of not only you will not replace us,
blood and soil.
Yeah, and blood and soil, dude. That is a hatred. That is. There is something deeply psychologically, I would even almost argue neurologically flawed with these people. You know what I mean? And that does need to be called out. And that's where I do agree. They're not on the same moral, quote unquote, moral plane as I read in some article with Black Lives Matter.
Oh, go ahead, Nachi, and hello, Voice of One. Let Nachi finish real quick, and then you can go after Benny. I'm trying to organize this better. I'm
getting feedback from somebody. Getting feedback. Somebody put headphones on, please.
Actually, going after the statue of Robert Lee, it was actually weird because he surrendered his entire army to Ulysses Grant at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865. After the war, he supported President Andrew Johnson's program of Reconstruction and intersectional friendship, while opposing the radical Republican proposals to give free slaves the vote. Okay, and take the vote away from ex-Confederates. So he urged them to rethink their position between the North and the South and the reintegration of former Confederates into the nation's political life. So from all the people that they could pick on to remove a statue, they actually chose to remove a statue of someone who was not the worst of the founding fathers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, technically, he by the modern terms, he would have been a progressive, right? He was progressive.
Yes. In the context of the
Of his time.
post Civil War, he was progressive. Yes. He would be leaning He would be leaning libertarian or something, and he most definitely, if it would be now, he would be considered a progressive.
I don't think he would have been considered a progressive. Robert E. Lee was obviously
No, within the context of his time. I mean, so
just
yeah.
Yeah, even within the context of his time, Robert E. Lee personally was an extraordinarily reserved and authoritarian type of an individual.
Well, yeah, that would make him progressive. Authoritarians are fucking progressive. You know, I mean, that's what the whole progressive movement is, right? The whole, you know, this liberal thing is not. It's fascist. It's, you know, they're not looking to unify people. They're looking to try and, you know, to enforce
Lee,
their views upon
once
people.
again, Lee does not fit into that category either.
Yes, but progressive. You saying authoritarian doesn't prove that it's not, you know, progressive, because progressives are very authoritarian.
No, I mean it from the standpoint of, well, for lack of a better term, I was using the old term for progressive, not the way we look at it today. All right, the way it was.
No, it's using today's term. Yeah.
All right.
Oh no, you mean when it meant something?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about modern day progressivism.
No,
Which is the whole point, right? This is the irony. They're going after a guy who in the day would have looked actually kind of relatively progressive.
No, Robert E. Lee, he was just about the 10th Amendment, right? So, and I hate to say right because it's chink under on the Young Turks. I always think that. But no, really. He was offered a job to lead the Union. He could have had Stanton's job, pretty much. Down because he felt that his loyalties lied with the state. He was a unionist, people. So you're ripping down a statue of someone who left, really didn't want to, but he left because of honor. The old Southern chivalry, you know what I mean? So it's just ridiculous. Now, if you want to rip down Bedford Forest, Nachi, we could have that argument, and maybe you'll win it. That's fine.
I don't think. I think he would win it hands down.
Well, hold on. Let me throw in my 2 cents in real quick.
Hey, Robert Edward Hush. Now, yanking down Robert E. Lee or Thomas Jefferson or Jefferson Davis, even, I think is going over the line. And what if they want to tear down the Confederate White House next? Should we just lose all our history? And now go ahead, Nachi, since I named you personally.
No, and I'll make it real quick because I got to get going too. No, man, I don't think it's a good idea to take down Robert E. Lee's statue. That's again where the fucking hate nuance, but that's where it comes in. I don't think it's a good idea to be offended by fucking history. Yet at the same time, democratically speaking, if a small town of people find it so repulsive to stare at this guy on a fucking daily basis because of what he kind of, to a certain degree, you cannot deny what he represented, and they want to take a vote to bring him down, yes, that's, I'm sorry, statues come and go in fucking cities, dude. Statues don't always last forever, and sometimes, you know, people change their minds and they'll take them down.
Well,
you know?
well, Nachi, here's the thing. By the way,
Oh, Benny, go ahead. You haven't talked yet. Sorry, Benny. Go for it.
Well, Nachi, here's the thing when it comes to these statues and all these monuments that they're trying to, you know, get rid of. It does have a dark history behind it, but no matter how hard they're going to try to get rid of this history, because to them, it's this unruly mark in American history. Even though that they want to get rid of this type of history, it's still your American history. The problem with when it comes to this is that we can all agree the United States, when it was being created, it was not innocent. There was a lot of bloodshed. We weren't innocent. That was the thing. But to try to remove these types of monuments in history, you're basically trying to erase your American history. And in that process, if you erase your history, it's one of those things that it's doomed to repeat itself. Now,
exactly. Well said.
When it comes to the Confederacy, I get that there's always these Southerners that want to have their Southern pride. It's totally fine, but there's these groups out there that are going to take it to the extreme. It's just like, you know, people on the web, people on the right. There are reasonable ones out there, but what we've been seeing more recently is the more extremist types of these individuals. Now, when it comes to these Confederate statues, should they be up? In my personal opinion, yes. Even though that it is a dark history, it's still your American history.
Let's go in a different direction. Voice of One Point hasn't talked yet.
No, the thing is, I'd like to go back to Nacho and say, I'd just point out that Lovely, you know, did quite clearly say that the people of Charlottesville didn't give a flying fuck. This was just one mayor's, you know, personal crusade to try and get this thing taken down because she was a radical social justice warrior, right? It had nothing to do with the will of the Charlottesville.
That is true.
Because nobody gave a shit.
No, that's the case. Yeah, that's fucked up, and I agree with what Beniano was saying, and I'm not just saying it to avoid an argument. That's what I mean by this is there's so many sides to it, though. You know what I mean?
There isn't. No, there's either just one woman's little fucking vigilante mission, and then there's like reality, and reality has fortunately managed to gain the upper hand for one period in our time. But I mean,
I have to make a correction. Franklin actually did own at one point 2 slaves or indentured servants.
I was thinking one was called Aunt Jemima, right?
No.
Jemima.
His slaves were George and King. They worked as personal slaves when he was running his newspapers. But the thing about it hold on, but the thing about it that was different in that regard, and this is just specific to this individual and specific to the time frame, was these were not slaves in the sense. I mean, you still had apprenticeships, right? You still had people coming over that were indentured servants for certain periods of time, for lack of a term, serfs, all right, where they would come over for a 10-year period, and these people were just basically abused. All right. So I mean, the founding of the nation is very complicated, and the individuals. Yes, Franklin did free the slave. He did not keep them into perpetual servitude. All right. But the founding is very difficult to look at from today's standpoint because the time frames were so different. okay, and how people looked at things. All right. Yes, the idea that you're trying to tear these statues down, there is an aspect of people trying to destroy history, but there's also an aspect of people that do feel this kind of great offense due to quote unquote America's original sin. This isn't going to fix the divisions, though, to go about it the way they've done it. The worst part about how this is all going down is very simply how these things are taking place. In most cases, not in all, but in most cases, it's just a few individuals who make us think about these issues in a protest, and the people around them say, well, let's just get rid of it to stop the noise. Let's just get rid of it to end the debate. All right, so I don't have to deal with it anymore. I mean, you got to think back.
Exactly.
It wasn't
Minority
that long
politics.
ago. It wasn't that long ago that people were seeing, were complaining about seeing the rebel flag over state houses because they were part of the state flags.
Yeah.
All right, of the thing.
Special
so
interest groups. This is where social justice and all the rest of it comes from.
Right.
Special interest groups.
But this is what a lot of these people are very good at, and I'm not talking about the people who truly are offended by the rebel flag or truly offended by those conditions because they had ancestors. The problem is that there's a group in this country that this is how they work their division into America. Is they pick at one thing, and as soon as they win that, they go on to the next thing, and they go on to the next thing, and they go on to the next thing, and they just keep pushing. And now what you're finally seeing is a violent reaction back the other way.
Exactly.
Right. Stop to this, and unfortunately, I think it's gotten to the ball. The ball's gotten so far down the road; it's rolling so hard. I don't think you're going to be able to stop it.
Well, it's going to get critical mass. I mean, yeah, but the thing is, who started the ball rolling? I mean, it was the very people who started to make things such a problem. You know, I mean, and this idea that people get really offended by a statue, I find that hard to believe. I mean, otherwise, I should be walking down the street, go through the streets of London, and I see, Roman pillars, and I see Roman architecture. I should be traumatized because of, my ancestral heritage or something.
But at that point,
it's nonsense. I don't buy into that horse shit. They're like, some teenager today is being traumatized because of something that happened to their great grandparents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nonsense.
Cabbage.
I think there's a big disconnect there, though. But it's one thing, distant ancestors from hundreds of years, from let's say even almost 1,000 years ago, when you're talking about the Romans and British history, in comparison to somebody who has probably just dug up a little bit of history and realized that, yeah, their great-great-grandparents or their third great-grandparents was a slave. And yet at the same time, again, and I know I must seem like I'm being wishy-washy. At the same time, I don't think it's a good idea to start taking these statues, and much less what happened, I forgot the other city, where they put that fucking pulley around that statue and they all brought it down. That's got to fucking stop. Even if that's gotta fucking stop. That acceptance of fucking just public vandalism. I don't care if that was one of the very fucking whoever MC was mentioning before, like some of these people who really were all for the Jim Crow laws, and they were all for the outright, putting down of black people and stuff. That's got to stop.
I'll give you.
Yeah, but you see what you got now, and I'll give you a perfect example of a time in history when this happened. Well, twice. There was one with an Egyptian pharaoh who had the previous pharaoh's name completely removed from all of the cartouches, around the cities. I mean, literally chiseled off because, in those days everything was, carved into stone. So they actually chiseled him off in order to remove him from history. It wasn't Tutankhamun, but I think it was a descendant of Tutankhamun. But then you got the other one, where the Pope,
that too was Akhenaten.
Was it right? And they removed all references to him, didn't they? Right. So I mean, this is the whole point, like rewriting history, revisionism. And then you got the Pope as well, who went around chipping the dicks off statues because they didn't want people to be offended.
If I could make
take a look at the link that I posted, and I will post in the outside chat too.
I'll make a couple of points here. First, how long is offense meant to last? I mean, You're talking about people being offended about something that happened. What? When was the last slave freed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, how long are you going to hold Britain accountable for Oliver Cromwell?
Well, I tell you, I'll give you an even more recent example. Over here, now I come from Northern Ireland, and we have had a lot of death and destruction going on for almost 50 years. And there's statues and monuments to terrorists on both sides, and we're not wanting to bring them down. And that's things that happened a couple of years ago, a few years ago, 10 years ago. You know, I might get offended by those statues, but I know why they're there, and they're part of the history. Pulling them down would not change our history, and it would not change the way people think. If anything, it's going to make people even more resilient to the type of change
Exactly,
that
it radicalizes.
Yeah. So that's my point.
I gotta get going, man. So I'm gonna dip out. So, hey, Mad Dodge, thanks for having me again. Cabbage, it was great talking with you again, and MC and everybody, and catch you guys.
I love you, Nachi. You're my favorite. I
Good
keep
to
my
see you, mate.
notifications on for you.
Yeah. Come back soon, mate.
Bye, Nachi.
Later, man.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks again, Mad Dodge. Late.
Yeah, voice. I mean, this is one of the things, though, right? Because it does radicalize. I was talking about this with MC the other night. Is that, you know, like the way in which you treat these things. You either, you know, the act of suppression can also act as you know, a form of radicalization too.
Oh, it definitely
it's much
does.
easier just to have these things happen. Sorry,
I mean, when you try to silence people, when you try to say, right, that freedom of expression you're doing might offend someone, therefore we're not going to allow you to do it. Well, they're just going to do it somewhere else without your permission and without your knowledge. And then it'll just be it'll be an underground movement that'll just bubble and bubble and bubble till someone sets it off, and then you have Charlottesville.
Well,
it becomes a powder keg, right? That's exactly what it is. These are powder kegs which are waiting to go off.
I have a question for Voice. You corrected me. You live in Northern Ireland, not Scotland. So, if there were statues of IRA members in Northern Ireland, would
there are, and there are monuments as well. Yeah,
they are. There are entire murals on walls.
And you're not offended, right? You don't want them torn down?
No, because
he didn't say he wasn't offended. He is offended, but at the same time,
I said if I was offended. Now I can walk past those things and not give a shit because I think both sides are fucking retarded. But if you take those down, the small element that's left, the small hardcore hateful element that's left, is going to take that as an attack, and they're going to answer right back with violence. So it's safer if you want to stand there and paint your murals and shout that this person's bad because of this. Go ahead. We'll just fucking ignore you and get on with our lives, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. That's what Americans need to start doing. Really.
Yeah, seriously. You don't like it, ignore it. That's the thing I'm saying is that, you know, why you would get traumatized by walking past a statue of something, I just don't understand. You know, like, I mean, if there was a statue of Oliver Cromwell in Ireland somewhere, I mean, he's the worst fucker. I mean, he was basically Britain's Hitler. But there are statues of Oliver Cromwell.
I mean, if going by the pictures of the latest Pride parade in London, I think I'd be more offended by that with fucking gimps and people with their dicks hanging out.
Well,
yeah, exactly. Gay pride parade. Yeah, that's far more.
This is the natural consequence of when PC culture has gotten too much power for over such a long period of time, and that's really what you're seeing now. Is you're seeing people that have been told that you can't sit up there and I have the right to be offended, but you don't have the right to be offended. All right, PC cult. That's what PC culture has always been about. And the result is now you're seeing them take it to the next step to where, okay, well, not only can't you be offended, I can be offended and I can take physical action. I can have physical consequences to things, right? And you can't stop me because you don't have the right, because my me being offended trumps your feelings. In other words, my feelings trump your feelings. I'm better than you. I'm superior to you. All right. And it's
Well, as I
not.
said, no,
And,
sorry, Log, go ahead.
Exactly.
You know what I find strange about this? They care so much about these statues being torn down, but yet in Boston, the Holocaust Museum, that shit got, some of the property got destroyed, but you don't hear a fucking word out of that. But
Oh yeah, I mean, not only that, you got the reconstruction of things just so that people can then take offence to the fact of what it was. They actually remake something like the Auschwitz one that we were talking about the other day.
right.
The gas chambers had to be rebuilt so that people could then go around and feel the empathy for the Jewish Holocaust. What's his name? Uh, oh God, who the fuck's the historian? Can never get any work. He's always, I mean, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But you understand the principle. It's like people are going to take offence to anything if they choose to. You choose to take offence to something. Offence is not given. It's
Exactly. Exactly. I always say this. You can offend someone. You can try to offend. You can say offensive words. But feeling offended, taking offense, it's a choice.
And
Yeah,
if you do,
you
then
can
you can walk away and you can say "fuck you" and just do your own thing.
you could
If,
be
unless you're being strapped to a chair.
you could be offended all you want. It just doesn't matter. No matter how hard you're going to try to hide these blemishes on our American history, it's still your American history. You're going to have to put up with it. No matter how hard you're going to try, no matter how hard you're going to try to hide this, it's still going to be there. No matter how hard you're going to try to hide it, it's still going to be there. It's one of those things that we have to put up with it. I don't care. Personally, with me, I don't care if you're offended. I don't care because when it comes to history, we can't change it. We
Yeah,
can't change it.
exactly. I find history interesting because it's part of our the journey as to how we got here. I don't see it as something to be traumatized about. I didn't live through it. I mean, I could be upset about things that I've been through, like with Margaret Thatcher and the miners' strike and a 3-day week and things like that. There are plenty of things within my own life that I could get bothered about.
Yeah,
But the idea that I'm going to get bothered about something that affected, well, I mean, my grandfather, because he was in World War II, and my great grandfather was in World War One. So, you know,
no, but I
I've
just
got
have
empathy with those issues, but I certainly wouldn't, that doesn't have any relevance to the idea that I'm meant to take offense to history.
no, and I
Um,
want you to show us. Wait, Cabbage, show us on the doll where Margaret Thatcher touched you. Just where did
no.
Actually,
how did
weirdly enough, she touched me in my wallet because
No,
that's where Margaret
Are
Thatcher
you
hits
trying to
everybody.
seduce me, Lady Thatcher?
no, it wasn't Thatcher, it was Neil Kinnock.
Can
Mrs.
I say
Robinson.
something? The SJWs love to talk about cultural appropriation and this kind of stupidity, but there is a very sad thing that was appropriated by the SJWs and by the left. It's the thing about trigger warnings, because the origin of this said trigger warnings, it's from combat veterans that survive, come back, and they suffer from PTSD. And okay, it's not the only way of getting to suffer from PTSD, but it is one. And after years of study, the psychiatrist tried to establish how to avoid the triggers that would make a person have a PTSD episode. It's a mix of panic and anxiety. I know because I suffer from PTSD for unrelated reasons. Uh, and they try to find what can trigger these panic attacks mixed with anxiety, where the person feels completely overwhelmed, paralyzed, and how the SJWs appropriated these turn trigger warnings because their fifis are being hurt because someone is saying mean words at them.
Who is this person? Who is this magnificent creature? I must know.
I'm lovely kitty.
No, I never met Lovely Kitty before. This is the first time.
Oh, I am on occasional here with the dog. Uh, so yeah, they took something that was studied hard by psychiatrists to help people who have an actual issue to banalize and trivialize it with the academia trigger warnings. In Harvard, the law school had to abolish the class that would teach about attorneys that would deal later in life with rape cases because the word rape was a trigger warning. An Ivy League college cannot have a class teaching the attorneys to be how to deal with rape cases because feels are bigger than facts in their feeble minds. So the entire culture got changed over a period the last 30, 40 years, and everything now is looked from what MC mentioned, the PC lenses, and this
Well,
is a
actually, it
bad
started
thing.
before. No, it was really the '60s. You know, with all of the after emancipation, when women got the vote and women got the equality that was actually being asked for, then all of a sudden it went from emancipation into or equality, then turned into feminism, and that's when it all went fucking,
And
like Fields and
how much equality feminists still want?
well, they don't want equality. They want dominance. And again, because apparently men are meant to be held accountable for something that a guy did in a cave, 50,000 years ago.
Yeah, feminism turned into, we were talking about what is can be considered hate speech. Feminism turned into something that is hate speech because of their misandry. They want to eliminate all men, kill all men, all those hashtags, kill all men. What? This is ridiculous. And
Yes, but
I'm
it's
sorry
simplistic.
I'm sorry for taking the floor, but there is a game that is very recent. It's called Tacoma. It's about a space station that has a six-person crew. And the SJWs are absolutely loving it. Feminist Frequency had a blog post about it. Uh, the crew is of the entire umbrella, rainbow, and whatever of diversity, and there is not a single white male in there.
Hmm. What a surprise!
With that type of stuff,
And
SJWs
the
eat that
worst
up.
part, of this video game, it's that it happens roughly in 2080 something, 2087, whatever. Um, there is no United States of America anymore.
Oh well, I mean they're permanently
People come
pushing
from
this.
Well,
people come from countries like Buffalo, like Texas, like California, and they are called United this, United that. So the SJWs are loving a game where 50 years from now the United States do not exist as a single nation.
yeah,
Yeah,
can I
because
play
they're all because they're globalists.
Cabbage?
Because they want
Cabbage. I want to play devil's advocate real quick. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. Maybe they're arguing for secession, which I would argue in favor of. And the Republic of Buffalo, that could be a thing if we let secession happen. I mean, come on. What do you think, MC?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
good work.
this is a huge red herring because if you
Yeah,
think
but the thing is, the
about
game is going to be a
with
flop. I guarantee you, the game's going to be a flop because there won't be any gameplay. Because the whole point of a decent game is to have a challenge. Now, the idea that everyone's just meant to
the
get along.
challenge is about artificial intelligence. I will not give spoilers. It's a $20 game on Steam or anywhere else. But I cannot complain about the game dynamic itself, graphically or anything. The game itself works. I'm not talking about the plot
Yeah,
because
but that's what I mean. The plot.
that's my area of expertise. I graduated in language and linguistics and analysis. I tried to do simultaneous translation, but I work with written translation. It works better for me. I speak 3 languages. But that's not the point. It's the point that when you have a narrative and you are building your characters, that's what we are taught at writing classes at university level. They have to be consistent. They have to have a reason to be there. One of the characters, for example, has a heart murmur because her parents were hippies. Such person could never be on a zero-G station.
It's so ridiculous. But that's the whole point, right? It's
So
total
yeah.
suspension of reality. And that's what these people are all about. They think that they can just, create these alternate realities and it'll all just work out into this wonderful union of, entities. Look, we've already seen what the beautiful union of cultures does in Barcelona last night.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I'm so sick and tired of these ideologues, especially trying to make games about this stuff. I mean, it's just fucking farcical. I mean, look at the one woman who actually did do it. At least you got one example, a concrete example, when the woman who created that media, was it a media company? It was in London. And she only wanted to employ women. She had an entire female workforce. And the only time the company earned contractors were male, and the women ended up competing against each other, to try and get the attentions, and the company went bankrupt.
I used to teach at a school. I can say that when you have a pack of women working together, it doesn't work that well.
No, it doesn't work when you get a bunch of gays
Women
together. They end up scratching each other's eyes out as well,
Men are competitive in terms of their professional skills. But women are competitive in very petty stuff, personal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she said that it ended up where the women were just taking off and they wanted to get pedicures and manicures and things like that. And they thought it was just perfectly acceptable that they just go about their daily lives and they didn't really have to concern themselves with the work. You know, they didn't have to earn their income. They were living like a Sex and the City life. That's what they were living a fucking illusion. You know, where the guys are actually getting on with the job.
I just have to cut in because it's my show. Fuck you, Benny. I'm not afraid of roads. Cut it out. That was a Twitter post, guys. Sorry, but fuck you, Benny.
Okay, let me explain the picture. It's a scene from SpongeBob, and it's Squidward going, I'm a libertarian. Patrick goes, what is a libertarian? And SpongeBob says, it means he's afraid of roads. Roads! Stop it, Patrick, you're scaring him.
Mo Roads. It always goes down to Mo Roads. God damn it.
I reposted here my Twitter address if anyone.
Oh, I already followed you on Twitter.
I think I followed you before, but I'll double check just to make sure.
Mad Dog, you should know me at least a little bit by now that how much of an asshole I can be. All right.
I'm tired of the Mo Roads meme. All right.
Mo Road.
I don't really care about roads that much. I really don't. It's not a major thing for me. All right. I care more about the Dragnet spying and the freaking Department of fucking
Homeland. I'll tell you what, you give a shit about your roads when they can't start restocking your market.
Roads already suck, dude.
Yeah, but if they sucked anymore and you couldn't get produce in your supermarket, you'd be pretty fucking pissed. You need decent road system in order just to be able to get any produce around. And this is one thing that really gets me about the argument. It's like, oh well, we could do it ourselves. Oh, you don't really need that many roads. Oh well, we can all drive around in RVs. It's like, yeah, well, how the fuck are you going to get everything else transported? And what about trucks? Can they go across dirt tracks? No, of course they can't. It's fucking nonsense. An 18-wheeler going down the back of some, the back of a hillside somewhere. Yeah, right. It's not exactly going to work, is it?
Oh, dude, no. And I brought up this point before. In Portland, the city isn't fixing the potholes, so citizens are. I mean, I've brought this up before. We are already making our own roads, all right? We can make roads. And Wolfshot, if you're out there and you watch this later, fuck off. Jackhammer. And I had my flagging certificate for working on the road as a flagger. I could help build roads. Fuck you, Wolfshot. No. Sorry, I never got the response to that. She wrote me, was like, on Twitter, I put something about roads, and she's like, you can never build roads if you tried. I'm like, fuck you, I've worked on roads.
You done all the stabilization and stuff. You understand the layering that's needed.
Oh, man, if you ever used a jackhammer before, man, those things suck. I'm telling you.
No, I'm talking about the actual requirement for the layers that are done to make a road. It's not just like, I mean, the jackhammer stuff is one point, but you got to have the stabilization, and then you got to stabilize the road, and you got to have the drainage and everything. No, there's a very specific skill to creating a road. You got to make sure there's a camber to it, so the water drains off it. That's why you have the gutters on either side. If you look at any road, it's actually, even a highway, it's actually slightly concave.
Yeah, but you guys build your roads backwards, right? You drive on the wrong side and everything.
No, we drive on the correct. No, you.
Mad, what does that have to do with the actual building of the road?
You drive on the right side of the road. We drive on the correct side of the road.
Fire, you're
right side of
doing
the
a
road.
funny joke and you fucked
I
it up.
got this for free.
Yeah.
Also,
God damn it, Pirate.
oh, I
We
want
drive on the correct side of the road. You drive on the right side of the road.
Bullshit. We invented cars.
No
dude.
bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, what? You don't think there were roads before cars? You dumb fuck. And you didn't invent cars anyway. That was done by Daimler or Benz. Sorry, that was German. First car was not the Model T. You dipshit.
No,
The
but
first petrol engine was created in Germany. Fuck off.
Oh yeah.
And before that, there were also steam cars, and before that, there were horse and carts. And you know the reason that people used to drive, were on the left-hand side was for a very simple reason. Because if you had to draw your sword, going back to the days when people were on chariots, then you would use your left hand to hold the reins, and you would have your right hand free as you cross the person. And that's the reason for a wave, is that you could show that your hand was free. There's very good reasons as to why you drive on the left. Now, the fact that you just wanted to be contrarian little pricks and decide to ride on the right is your choice.
I'll be even more of a prick right here.
Good.
Dude,
I wouldn't expect anything less of you.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You like me, Cabbage. You talk to me all the time.
Yeah.
But you guys are barbarians.
Yeah.
You're still like, I mean, seriously, do you still wipe your ass with your left hand? Like, what the hell's going on over there?
No. First off, I'm
What's
on
the
the
left-hand thing?
dexterous.
No, that's Muslims who do that. That's got fuck all to do with us. You're really pulling some nonsense out of your ass on this one. I just proved your bullshit about the roads, and you suddenly come out about ass wiping.
Yeah,
Man, you are grasping for straws. You are grasping.
What happened when I was away making coffee? We went from talking about Charlottesville to something about, Yanks.
I don't know. I think Mad Dodge had a fucking brain tumor in between.
Cabbage.
I don't know.
Cabbage, remember, he's a libertarian. He doesn't know better.
Well, he's a simpleton.
Yeah. More libertarians. We know no better than.
Oh, sure.
You say you love history, learn some, you fucking ignorant prick.
Oh, damn, Cabbage.
Would be good.
I doubt Cabbage's boyfriend didn't use a lube last night, so he's a bit irritable.
I'm being nice. These are love taps.
Bloody hell, man. I love that. Like, I stole that from you, Cabbage. British people. It is cultural appropriation, I'll admit it.
Americans stole everything from us, actually.
Wait, us? I thought you were in Ireland. Shouldn't you be against Cabbage on my side? Come on now.
I'm joking. Northern Ireland. I'm part of both sides.
No, he's the bloody English. You can't be on his side, eh?
No.
Well, if I have to choose between the Yanks and the Brits, it'll be the Brits.
I'm not
a man.
Sir.
Good choice. We got your back too.
Because at least we had an empire. Not like you wannabe Yanks.
That's great.
You're getting a real spanking here, man.
You're just mad. You drive on the wrong side of the road too. That's what's up.
No, we drive on the correct side of the road. Oh, American delusional stuff. I think the roads didn't exist.
More like libertarian delusional stuff.
Oh, pirate, you too? Oh, that's like when Brutus stabbed Caesar right there, pirate.
Et tu, Brute.
And he went away. Like, you too, my son.
Yes, yes, et tu, Brute is the phrase.
Bloody hell! Even pirate, you're back. Okay.
You make a joke and you get kicked off the stream. Ain't that just like a fucking libertarian?
No, you're like Brutus, man. I'm like, you too, my son. Like, damn it, you're stabbing me too. I expect it from Cabbage and voice. I mean,
we always hurt the ones we love.
For the far reaches of the pond.
Well, look, man, I'm a pirate. I do what I do. I make strategic raids.
He rapes and pillage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not so much the rape part, but the pillaging, yeah.
He steals and takes what he wants.
He dreams of it.
Sorry, who's the prawn? Is that a seahorse?
Who's the what?
Well, is that a prawn or a seahorse?
Oh no, that's a pirate. Yeah, it does look like a sort of like a. Well, it looks like a sort of translucent hammerhead shark, doesn't it?
It's basically the
Actually,
devil.
it looks like a gay prawn.
A gay prawn.
It's an actual picture of him.
It's a gay
So,
prawn.
Cabbage, in the chat, your Yankee love goddess said that you need to be nice to the other people in the class or you'll get a spanking from her. So,
Please.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't threaten me with a good time. Ooh.
yeah,
Exactly.
right? Cabbage
Yeah.
is just even more.
She's trying to promote it. That's what it is. She's trying to get me into the mood. So she likes a bit of S&M. It's all right. It'll be fine. We'll have a gimp mask and a gag.
You better read that 50 Shades of Grey book first so you can, get up to date on the modern times.
50 Shades of Grey is for pussies.
I've never read it. I never watched it, the movie. I don't know anything about it.
The book was better.
I downloaded it and I watched, and I was like flicking through. It's like, where's the action? It's like, this is really meant to be that, spectacular. It was like the worst kind of censored porn you could think of. There was nothing in it. A chick get. In fact, you remember that film that Madonna did where she gets the wax dripped on her nipple? That was more of more provocative than the 50 Shades of Grey. So it's sad.
Oh, what you're into, Cabbage?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to look for saucy, then that's definitely a bit more than whatever you saw on 50 Shades of Grey. Just got some chick who, a bit of light bondage or something.
The secretary was better. If you ever saw that film,
I found a better book than 50 Shades of Grey. It's called The Haunted Vagina. It's
oh my god!
No, I'm not joking. Thought. It's a real book. It is. Yeah.
Holy shit! That would be one fucking major Scooby Doo episode, wouldn't it?
I thought that was Leonard Dunham's Twitter name. Haunted Vagina.
Oh, I got it, guys.
No,
Hillary Clinton.
No, I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
Oh god, this is nightmarish.
Oh my god.
Yeah, come on, that was good. A Haunted Vagina, the Hillary Clinton chronicle.
Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you?
This is some scary shit. This is not safe, sane, and consensual. I did not consent to have the image of Hillary Clinton like that.
Just imagine Hillary Clinton being fucked by Scooby.
Oh my god, Cabbage. Wow.
I think I've actually seen that film.
Like Scoob, you're being sucked into the haunted vagina.
I would have come too if it weren't for you pesky kids.
Is Shaggy filming or is Daphne? Which one's filming?
Daphne's the fucking lesbian.
No, that's Thelma. No.
Oh yeah, Thelma. Yeah, Thelma is basically Meg, isn't she? Thelma is Meg out of Family Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the social justice one. And then you got the slut.
Yeah, that's why I said Daphne would be filming because she's a slut, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've always got like the hot chick always has to have an ugly friend just to just to make her look even better.
Actually, you've got that wrong. It'll be the ugly friend who's willing to do more. So that's one you want to go for.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. That's where the guys make the mistake because the other girl is not willing to make the effort. The other one will make you breakfast.
Hey, voice of one. After you said that, if you ever come to the States, you're my new wingman, dude. No.
I thought you were married with
Totally
kids.
my new wingman.
Hold on, real quick. I was on Amazon and I'm just looking at weird book title names. There's one called The Baby Jesus Butt Plug. I knocked up I knocked up Satan's Daughter, a demonic romantic comedy. Ask Goblins of Auschwitz. That's one.
Goblins of Auschwitz.
Oh, Benny, send me a link for those. I was thinking about getting an
It's
link.
all on Amazon.
Sell them on my channel, yo.
It's all on Amazon. There's another one here that's called Every Time We Meet at the Dairy Queen, Your Whole Fucking Face Explodes. Adolf in Wonderland. I've got to read that book.
Wait, you say Adolf in Wonderland?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Oh shit! I should. Shit! I should really order these books soon.
Yeah, these are definitely these are stocking fillers. These are definite stocking fillers
for your
There's only 10 books left to get Adolf in Wonderland.
Oh, you better hurry.
Only 7 left. Only 7 left for the Haunted Vagina.
Yeah, but who publishes these? I mean, what is the publisher? They've got to be self-published.
It says by Carlton Malik III.
It's probably
all right. So, yeah, it's self-published.
Yes.
The guy's printing them himself through like Cafe Press or something. Yeah. It won't be good, I can promise you. The title's probably the best thing about the book.
No, he's probably an online dom.
But how funny would that be?
Naughty.
Affiliate link and have that like, hey, this book is pretty interesting. At the beginning of my videos, that'd be great.
Well, you could do book reviews of these things. That'd be good. Do a satirical book review. Why not? Give you more product.
All right. Other than crazy Amazon ads, do we have any other topics, or do we want to sign off and just bullshit for a few minutes? We've been going about 4 hours now, so.
I know it's up to Madodge. It's Madodge's channel, isn't it?
It's your fucking stream, dumbass.
Well, no. We'll keep going if you guys have anything else to say. I could look up some more news stories or something.
Why'd you look up the Haunted Vagina?
I know. I'm not ready. I gotta prepare myself for that.
I gave you the link to it in the
Get a torch.
Hangouts chat.
You're going to need an.
Yeah, I gotta work up to that, Benny.
You buy that book, you're going to need an old priest and a young priest. And keep the kids away from both of them.
Be the Exorcist.
So, voice, is there any refugee problem in Northern Ireland at all? I haven't heard anything in that neck of the woods.
Southern Ireland's getting a problem now.
No, there's no refugees over here. We get all the white refugees from, Middle Europe.
Oh God, buddy!
Yeah,
we get all the white people running away. Is pretty much what you said, right?
Yeah, we get Polish and Bulgarian and all the weird names you can't pronounce coming here.
Yeah. Well, I think doesn't Southern Ireland have? Didn't it get an immigration quota for the Somalians or whoever the fuck's being imported now?
I don't think so. Sure, we don't even allow gay people over here. So,
No, I don't know. There's Southern Ireland's had an influx of, North African migrants. From what I understood, I saw an article about it the other day.
But I don't live in the city. I live way out in the countryside. So.
Yeah, but Southern. I'm talking Southern. Like around Dublin way and.
Down south. Oh, they're mad down there. Like. Really is. They're filled with foreigners.
Yeah, well, they got given their European Union quota, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that just winds me up about the whole troubles over here. They fought for years, the IRA and real IRA, and I can't believe it's not the IRA, to have a united Ireland. And the first thing to do is sell their sovereignty to the EU. I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, but it's like Scotland was going to do, right? Because they wanted independence. They say we want independence, but we're joining the EU. It's like, what? So you're just basically changing pimp. Is that it?
That's it. Like, all they've been doing is making themselves worse off.
Yeah.
I even did a video about this, which you should all watch, because you all should be subscribed to me already.
Yeah, of course we should.
And yeah, I'll be checking my fucking subscribers to see if you are. So.
And if you're not, he's going to put a bomb through your door. He'll put you.
Just remember,
very good at post bombs.
Just remember, Cabot, you're only 26 miles across the water from me.
Yeah, right, Kevin. You might want to watch out. How do you?
All right. He's not a nationalist.
I'm interested in history. I don't know much about the Troubles, really, other than what they say here in the States. So how do you feel about that whole ordeal?
I think if I'd have been in charge, I'd have had both sides shot in public. But that's just me. I mean, like, I did have a family member whose house was blown up because it was too close to a police station at the time. Like, but you can't hold on to hate that long. It's.
I've been in 3 places where IRA bombs have gone off. I've been in London where, they're doing the pipe bombing. I was also living in Manchester when they blew up the Arndale Centre. And just down the road with Warrington, So
is that a confession, Cabbage?
No, just an experience.
You just happened to be there.
I just happened to be.
I got it already, Cabbage.
It's coincidence.
I always wanted to go to Manchester because I just hear it's just an explosion of fun.
Oh, Manchester's great. It is. Yeah, it's wonderful.
No, but Cabbage, I got it already, dude. A 4-leaf clover behind you, and you turn the cabbage into a bomb.
No, I've already got my jihadi one. That's cool.
Speaking of pains in the ass, why don't you take care of yours, Mad Dog?
My wife is holding the baby. Thank you very much for having.
Yeah, well, shake it a little bit. It might go quiet.
Oh yeah.
Mad Dog, I can't find my car keys. I looked everywhere.
I heard Ariana Grande had a blast when she went to Manchester.
No, I heard differently. I heard it sucked. The guy killed himself afterwards.
That's how bad it was. Yeah, that was a protest.
Oh man, I'm glad I drink on these streams. I'm telling you, I couldn't do this shit sober.
If you're going to go to Manchester,
Mad Dog,
buy yourself a shell suit.
Yeah, anything in nylon.
Well, no, man. I would like to go to Belfast. I would like to go see Southern Ireland and stuff.
Belfast is not in the south, you dumb fuck.
That's Northern Ireland. Sorry, my bad. I just told you I was drinking, dick.
North, doesn't south. Matter. Geography doesn't change depending on your alcohol content.
Oh, it does.
Look, okay, Mad Dog.
You and I.
Are you Canadian? Because you keep saying "eh."
Look, Mad Dog.
Drastically between how much you have drank. Have you ever walked down a
peppermint schnapps don't count as drinking. That's a pussy drink.
I haven't drank schnapps since I was like 14. What the fuck are you talking about?
He's drinking sherry.
Ew. I don't drink that wine either. I'm not a Frenchman.
He's having a nice dry martini.
Well, actually, I think sherry isn't that out of
that's right, America.
Portugal, isn't it?
Dublin is what I meant.
American beer, yeah. Why is American beer like making, like having sex in a canoe?
Dublin is what I meant. I said the wrong freaking name. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Dublin's in the fucking south as well, not the north.
I
Well,
said south.
I hope you speak.
Now you said north, you dipshit.
No,
I
I
what
correctly
saying.
said. No, I said Belfast.
Saying mad.
Oh,
No,
damn
come on,
it,
Cabbage. He did correct himself. You know, he did.
Really? Well, once it had been pointed out to him how retarded he was.
Belfast was in Northern Ireland. Although why you want to go there, I have no idea.
No, I
No,
don't.
it was Dublin.
It's a hideous
Dublin, I was
place.
thinking of Belfast. You guys were talking about, so it popped out. My bad.
Oh, it popped out. Yeah.
Is that what you say when you're at the play park? Sorry, I'm not.
That's what he says when he's around the playgrounds.
Mad
It
Dog
just popped
only
out,
wants-
officer.
Mad Dog
Honestly,
only
I didn't
wants-
mean it to happen. It just
No,
popped
you know
out.
what? Screw you all.
Hold on.
Just go to
Hold on,
Amsterdam to the Redeye to the
Look.
freaking red light district. Screw you.
Look, the reason Mad
I
Dog
didn't
wants to
wanna
go
go
to
to
Belfast,
UK.
the reason why
I'm
Mad
going
Dog wants to go to Belfast is because he wants to get drunk, you fucking alcoholic.
You know what? You're right. I want
You're
to go
just
get
in it for the booze, you fucker.
You don't
Irish.
have to travel that far to get drunk, Jesus.
No,
That's
but
sort
That
of-
is true. That is true.
a real Irish pub would be badass.
Yeah, no, Ireland is fun. I've got to say, I've got wasted a few times in Ireland. It's always been fun. I've woken up on a few people's couches. I didn't even know who the fuck they were or where I was.
Oh my god, I've done that once. I woke up, I was like, what the fuck? They're like, hey. I'm like, hi. Like, how did I get here?
Oh. Good morning. Who the fuck are you?
You wandered in drunk with a gun and you said you were going to rob us, but then you passed out on the couch.
No, my bartender who served me dragged me to her friend's house, and then I passed out on the couch. That's how that one ended up happening.
You better give your bartender a tip after that.
Actually, the weirdest one, I was in Dublin, and we had a great time. Been there for like a week, 10 days. I've been working over there for a company. Got to know the guys. We were going out partying. Last day, we said, oh, we're going to take you out for a great night out. Went on the absolute lash of a lifetime. And then the last night, we get to this breakfast place. The sun's coming up. And the only trouble I ever saw in Ireland was from fucking Liverpudlians. Bloody Scousers trying to kick off in a breakfast place at 7 o'clock in the morning. So the Irish were totally sound. Two fucking Scousers started trying to cause problems. You don't even know who Scousers are, do you? Americans, I'm sorry. I'm talking to...
Well, the Irish can get rowdy too, right? That's their reputation, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's a bad reputation because the whole time I was there, it was totally sound. The only people who actually caused any problems were English. Scousers, Liverpudlians, right? You know the Beatles? Yeah, could well be. Then again, you go to Liverpool and you got so many Irish in there. Then again, they do have some of the hottest girls, but you just don't want them to talk. You got good-looking girls, but they talk like fucking drains. I mean, they really just sound cheap.
Again, that's why you wrote Hypnos for.
Or bulldog clips. Just clamp the mouth shut.
No, that's what your cat's for.
yeah, stuff it with that as well.
Spoiler alert, Liverpool is nothing but a pool of livers. It's in the name.
That's not a spoiler.
It's pretty disgusting actually. It just smells fucking rancid. They don't change out the livers in the pool. They just let it just rot there. It's pretty gross.
Yeah. No, nothing wrong with a bit of literal interpretation, is there? That was deep, man. Wow. You got me.
I just thought I'd...
All right. Are we winding down, guys? Or do you just want to bullshit in the after chat or what?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
Some of the stuff I want to talk about, you can't be allowed to say on YouTube.
What do you want to talk about, Benny?
Oh no,
Okay,
cool.
we're gonna get weird. We're gonna get weird.
Yeah, this is Mad Dodge Productions. I am the Mad Libertarian. Anyone else want to shout out their channel? Go for it now.
Yeah,
Yes,
guys.
watch the voice of
Thanks.
one.
Yeah, watch the voice of one.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of you guys repeat yourselves because you were talking over each other.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff7.
Cool.
All right, Pirate Nation, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say thanks for joining me on the stream, guys. It's been a pleasure, and my co-host Cabbage. You know, it's been great. You know, not being here for about half the stream while you guys filled the dead air. Thanks a lot, guys, for that. It's really helping me out, obviously.
Can I make a quick point? Parrot, you should voice audiobooks because I would kill to have your voice.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry if you hear background noise. My lady is on the phone behind me.
Your
Did you
voice
see
is
that?
shit.
Do you remember a movie about what do you call that controversial radio guy? What the fuck do you call him? He's American. He's a lanky, skinny fucker.
Who?
He's a real Howard Stern. Remember in that movie that he made about his own life, where the girl
Oh,
sits
yeah.
down over the speaker? That's what the parrot should do.
Oh, like a radio talk show. So, yeah, I can see him do that.
You know,
Well,
he
no,
gets
and
nervous.
Pirate. If
No,
you
don't blow his ego. He's got enough already.
well, no, and Pirate, if you really want to like take over my channel, man, maybe donate $1 to my Patreon, yo. Brother up.
A marketing takeover. I'm now the CEO of Mad Dodge Productions.
Yeah, for just $1. Look me up. No. All right. Anybody else want to throw out their channel or Twitter? Lovely, Benny.
You can follow me on Twitter.
I'm still building my channel. So there is an empty channel out there that I will work on it.
You can follow me on my Twitter at BennyHonda97. I'm just one of your favorite little shits on the internet, and I love you.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody that watched and the one person that's still in here. Have a good night and good luck.